You're watching the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent Austen Show.
Well, here we go. Taxslayer Gator Bowl in town tonight. It's going to be a chilly one, so dress appropriately, but hopefully get on out to Everbank Stadium. Fun day. I just tweeted about this. Hang out with me all day, and I think you'll have a fun day. That's not usually the case, quite frankly, but I'm just there for the ride. I won't be entertaining you the whole time. Hopefully for a little bit, for 3 hours here in the Brent Austen Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. UNF plays at 2 o'clock today against Austin Peay, so a rare 2 o'clock game to open A-Sun play. And then we've got Jaguars All Access tonight at String Sports Brewery. Last show that will probably have guests, because next week we usually don't have guests at the end of the season. And we're having the specialists on, Ross Matiscik. Another Pro Bowl for him today, just announced. Logan Cooke finally into the Pro Bowl. He has earned it, and good to see him get in there. And we'll have Cam Little as well, who might be a Pro Bowler some days. Had a terrific season, better than any rookie kicker in the National Football League. Those will be our guests. It's a 1-hour show tonight at Strings in Springfield. And then right after that, I'm going to scoot on over to Everbank Stadium to watch Taxslayer Gator Bowl as well. So, like I said, you're hanging out with me today.
Yeah, man.
That's not a bad schedule for second day of the new year.
Not too shabby. You're staying busy today.
I'll tell you what, I'm not like brag about how long you work, but I am number one for 2025 here in the sports department.
Okay.
Because I worked New Year's Day.
Okay.
And that was my holiday. And everybody else got that off, which is fine because we got all the other ones off.
Okay.
So we took turns.
Yep.
And it was a freaking long day yesterday.
What'd you have to do?
I mean, usually on a holiday stuff, there's not a lot going on, like Thanksgivings, like everything. Even the Jags kind of change schedules around. Well, on New Year's Day, it doesn't get treated that way. New Year's Eve doesn't really either. We kind of look at those as holidays, but it doesn't get really treated that way. So it was a normal Wednesday for the Jags yesterday. So, I mean, Doug Peterson at 10:30. Then the Taxslayer Gator Bowl had some stuff at 11. Then Mac Jones. Then the locker room. Then do the shows. So I'm up on everybody.
Nice, man.
I'm in the lead, and I like to win.
Yeah.
So I'm going to boast about that for a day.
Okay.
How about you, Hammy? You work yesterday? No, you got the day off yesterday.
Yeah,
see that? I'm
day
ahead
off.
of you too, and you were the low guy on the totem pole. Had to work all the holidays.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate, by the way. A lot of respect for that. That's the way it should be. You shouldn't get those damn holidays off in our business. I don't feel bad for you at all.
I'll be catching up today. Well, not to you, but to everybody else.
Yeah, to everybody else. Hey, Hammy's going to shoot the Taxslayer Gator Bowl there tonight, so you want to do that?
Oh, I'm sure you're pumped to miss the Georgia game.
Well, shoot, now I feel like I'll be able to catch maybe at least the first half.
Well, you might be able to see. Yeah, I mean, you'll be able to kind of check out most of that thing.
Yeah.
And watch some of it on your phone.
I'm glad they bumped it up. Goodness.
Yeah, that's true, huh? Yeah. You would have been asking. I've been like, Brent, I know I said I wanted to shoot that.
No, because it was a couple hours. I was getting the instant updates yesterday. I was on top of it. And then I saw, 8:45 kick, and I was just like, oh, man. But I was like, you know what?
I know it.
It's part of the game.
Well, listen, this is a big deal internally. Some things are big. I always say this about what we've done here over the last year. There's a lot of things that we've done over the last year that are a big deal internally that I don't think a lot of people on the outside understand as much. And so I'm sure that happens at your workplace, at home, whatever it is. And I really think the idea that the Taxslayer Gator Bowl, which, by the way, has been snubbed of some of the things that they want, some of the teams that they want over the years outside of the Notre Dame game, it feels like they always get passed over for some of the ideal ones that they would like. They were like, are you kidding me? We had the only game in college football.
Yeah. And
then all of a sudden they're going to put the college football playoff game, and obviously there's this extenuating circumstances
as
here.
They probably should have,
But they're going to put it at 8:45 at night, and now it's going to take away from the ratings because already we're not sure how packed this place is going to be tonight, but the ratings are a big part of the draw now, like in the bowl game stuff.
It would have crushed them.
It really would have been great.
Yeah.
And so now you're like, oh, man, what the heck? Not going to get it. Well, to move up to 4 o'clock really helps them out. Now they're right after that. Now you do have that game. Everybody can watch it in its entirety, and the ratings should be really good because they will actually have a tremendous lead-in for that football game. So in the end, to slide kickoff to 8:05, which if you haven't heard, that's what they're going to do, makes a lot of sense. And this will be a big win for the Taxslayer Gator Bowl to be able to do that. And interesting circumstances at why they moved it from 8:45 to 4 o'clock. It was more because of the coaches and a rest thing for next week's game. Because I think
Penn State would have gotten 2 full days on us, or
Yes.
whoever wins, obviously.
Yeah, on us.
Us,
Yeah,
like you guys
holy
already
cow.
won the damn game. Are you kidding me?
I mean, I feel like it's a pick'em game with a
This
quarterback
is-
that's never started the football game
This
before.
is how
that
we're
still
starting out the
case?
new year. This is how we're starting out the new year now. Us, like you already won the football game. Like you're not playing Notre Dame with a backup quarterback who could maybe push you to the limit a little bit.
Our game, I
All
should
right.
have said.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Our
But
game.
don't act like you won the game yet. Oh wow, we're getting so cocky here. Okay. Okay.
By the way, not-
What's the spread?
It's like
2.
1. Or is it 2 now? It's and Notre Dame. The line's moved to Notre Dame, right? Or was it always Notre Dame?
Better not have.
I thought the line had moved.
You just got some
pretty
bad odds.
Let me check this Hard Rock app that I've been killing it on.
There we go.
I'm pretty I thought it was Notre Dame's favored by 1.
There you go, Hamby.
Oh, good.
That's the spirit.
Better for me.
All the sharps coming in hot.
Oh, listen, if I thought that motivational talk was going to win the game, I would have thought Dan Lanning would have been able to do something better than 34-0 in the
Yikes,
first half as
Yikes.
Oregon, the number 1 team in the country, undefeated, and thought those guys could have been a little motivated. Holy
Yikes.
cow, SMU would have whooped their ass yesterday.
Well, it's not pump the brakes a little bit, but yeah.
Did we get a video of Ronan at any point?
No, I mean I felt too bad for him. He was devastated. So I didn't even I wasn't gonna put him through the ringer and take a video or anything. I was like, yeah, man, this sucks. Sorry. Because I mean I thought listen, I talked about this a couple weeks ago. Ohio State scares me. I think I thought Oregon was gonna be the best team.
Yeah.
I still think whoever won that game is gonna win the national championship. So I guess I got Ohio State now winning the national championship. But I get the Michigan game left a lot of bad taste in people's mouths. But if you watch that game, a lot of weird things happened. And I still think in terms of roster construction and everything, and I'm not sold on Ohio State's quarterback, but they got a solid team, man. They have a solid defense and a solid team. And I think Penn State showcased some stuff too against Boise State.
Yeah, that was. There's a lot to digest from the weekend of games. Again, I still like this. Everybody else doesn't like it. I think you should really like it now. The fact that 3 of the conference champs are out, and Georgia will face another test tonight. We'll see if you could get to the semifinals with all of them out. So if you like the Final Four, the 4 conference champs would be all in usually in the Final Four. Usually that's how it shakes out. They might all be out. So you can criticize the first round, but the reason why you do a college football playoff, especially in a year like this, is because the number 1 team in the country, the undefeated team, just got boat raced, and all the other teams that have won championships are out too. So that's why you need a playoff. That's why you need this, because I don't know if it always tells the story just winning your conference championship.
Is there something to be said that the bye may be hurting teams?
I think people are going there. It's a small sample, right? I mean, I think we get that. Don't we get that still in baseball, right?
Yeah, I hate it.
When baseball waits. And I think we're asking, aren't the Kansas City Chiefs asking that right now?
Yeah.
Hey, you're going to be well rested, but you don't play football for 24 days. That can be a very good thing, and probably a good thing for a well-oiled machine like Kansas City, right? They're a veteran group. A guy like Travis Kelce getting rest is way more important than playing. He knows what he's doing. Yeah. But it's still an interest. If they come out and they're slow and sluggish and don't play well, we're going to go back. Wow, 24 days is a long time. I mean, you restarted the season.
Yeah.
So that it's a fair criticism, but you also would, at this time of the year, most of the time in football, take the rest to get healthy.
You would think, yeah. But I mean, what, you're about to go 0-4 if Georgia gets beat.
I would say this, though. See, this is where I disagree with the bye week people, because aren't we used to the bowl games being this long layoff anyway? So, if you already have the bye, should that matter much? What's the momentum?
But it matters because the team that you're playing got a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, 2 ways to look at it. You had 1 week where you didn't get hurt.
Sure.
They had a week where they could have got hurt, right? So, let's just take Oregon. If they win that game, are they getting the running back for the next deal? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those kind of things can happen. I'm not as locked into that. I just think this is the way the college football season has worked. I mean, I've been saying this for months. You guys know this.
Yeah.
It's been an average college football season where just about anybody seemingly can beat anybody. And I think now the team that you really look at is Arizona State was pretty good, right? I think they're pretty good. I mean, they got behind early in that football game, but for a lot of that football game, I thought they were the better team. I mean, they just didn't take advantage of opportunities against Texas. I mean, Texas didn't even get the football for the second and third quarter of that game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Arizona State dominated time of possession, and they missed the field goals. But I still thought that Texas was the better team, who was just absolutely just not seemed like they didn't even want to win. They didn't want to kill the game. They didn't want to put it away.
Yeah,
they let the little brother hang around a little bit. And when you have dogs like Cam Scattaboo, holy cow, then he's going to make you pay.
Yeah, that dude made a name for himself. I kind of agree with you, Andy. It was funny. I was watching that game, and I thought, I can see Texas somehow taking it like to the championship. I couldn't see Arizona State going to the championship. And I don't know why I felt like that. I just thought that, like you kind of alluded to a little bit, like Texas was doing just too much to try to lose the game. And Arizona State, even though they got down in the beginning, was maybe playing their best game until the end, obviously, and they kind of let some stupid plays affect them. But
it'll be interesting to see Notre Dame, because I think along with Arizona State and Notre Dame are really rolling at the end of the year. They were crushing people. Mm-hmm. Now, you would say that they're playing not as good a competition and all that stuff. But as I've argued all year, what is good competition this year? We have no idea. Just because you're in the top 25, you're in the top 25 by name. And I think Oregon kind of proved that yesterday. And I think Oregon's a better team than that. Sometimes it just goes wrong. I get that. But still, that was pretty ugly. I mean, if you're the number one team in the country, you should never lose like that.
No, that was embarrassing.
So anyway, I just think it's been that kind of year, which is great for this playoff, because we get some of those years in college basketball where you have dominant team, you have 5 dominant teams, or you have no dominant teams. And the no dominant team years are great because it's fun, it's entertaining. And I just said this right now. I love the college football playoff. I still love the college football playoff. And the reason I do is because we're sitting here closer and closer to the semifinals, and I still can't pick the winner of the national championship. Yeah. I don't know who's going to win it. I don't know who's going to win today. I don't know who's going to win that Ohio State game. I'm probably putting money on Ohio State because they got that second win, and it feels like when they got in the tournament like years ago, remember as one of the 4th teams, and they kind of snuck in, and then they won it that year under Urban Meyer. Feels a little bit like that. Feels like when Alabama has done that, when they're like, they shouldn't get in. They get in, boom, win it, right? It feels a little bit like Ohio State's got a second win, but Texas can do it. They've got the people to do it. And then Penn State, I thought Allard played excellent. He threw the football really well in that game. So,
but also just run the football.
Well, yeah.
You were averaging what? 7 yards per carry?
Yeah.
Just do that until it doesn't work anymore. Like, remember where you come from. You are a Big Ten school, all right? I get what we're all about passing and spread off. Just run the football. Like Boise State, the game shouldn't even really been close. But you're trying to throw it on 3rd and 1 and get cute and everything. Like, hey, James Franklin, just hand the ball off. Like, there is no sexy points now. Just win the football game. Drove me crazy last night.
Yeah, it's a very fair point. I'll tell you the one thing that I get all over coaches in college football a lot, right? Mm-hmm. I just don't like the whole thing. And I'm never going to end that, but I also understand I'm getting behind on the conversation. Like, my conversation point has always been, this is where it started. I even got on Dillingham, who's a very good coach. Why are they announcing that the day before your biggest game?
Yeah, that was
time. Why are you doing that? Mm-hmm. Like, if I'm in charge, if I'm that guy in charge, and I fully believe this, I am not saying that on the night before my biggest game. I'm saying, hey, guys, announce this on the weekend. All right? Why are you making it about you? Now, people will say, well, you got to do that because you got to do it for transfer portal and recruits, and this is your moment. You're on the big stage. Who gives a damn? Nobody knows if there wasn't one time I thought watching that game, oh, good, he's here for 5 more years. Are you freaking kidding me? Stop. Did you think about that watching that game?
Nah, but like I got it. Man, but that's how it works, though. It's like, hey, this is our coach. Let's showcase him in front of the country. Let's announce it right. Like, I got it. Like, to me, that's business. Not saying it's right business, but like it keeps his name relevant. Yeah. It keeps him in the conversation. And that's what college football is now. Like,
you're right.
You have to be relevant. You have to stay in the conversation. You got to be the household name because it's the Wild West now.
You're exactly right. It's not just what college football is now. It's what college football has been, and that's my point. It's always about those damn coaches.
Sure.
And this is why we're where we are, okay? So that being said, now let's just talk about the coaches. Because I feel like when we watch NFL games and we watch these games, and I understand the pie is big now in all this stuff. The NFL's making billions. College football seemingly is making billions, if not hundreds of millions. So everybody's going to get a piece of the pie. And I always say this when we talk about players. Like, hey, nobody complains about Tom Cruise getting $35 million for a movie, right? It is what it is. But damn, are these guys overpaid because they freaking suck.
Holy cow.
Why can't they manage a damn clock? Can we just have them play Madden for a week? I don't even play Madden, but you can figure out how to manage a clock playing Madden. What are they doing? Why are they not running the football? Why is Texas not running the football yesterday with 1:50 to go in the game? They're already in field goal range. You know they gained 2 yards and they lost like a minute.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Like, what? What are we doing?
And letting Quinn Ewers just drop back and throw these floaters down the field. They get picked off on first down instead of not running it.
Well, and if you're going to blitz on fourth down, let's go ahead and get there too, huh? Win them when the game's on the line.
Why on 4th and 13?
Well, I mean, no, listen. Like, Ewers doesn't handle pressure the best. So I'm not mad if you're going to blitz them.
They showed that so early.
But then they get home. Like,
but wouldn't you seriously, as a D coordinator,
I would have stayed back.
4th and 13,
no,
just
I
play
would
the
have
sticks and not give up that. That's the worst case scenario.
No, I probably would have stayed back. But look at Kansas City though. Kansas City will do that. Like there's some coaches who just believe or coordinators, whatever. Like, hey,
make a choice.
Make a choice and get. But you got to get home. They didn't get home. Everybody got blocked up.
And
so
you can't get a guy behind you.
Oh yeah, that too.
Well, on the flip side, on the possession before that, Texas decided to drop 8, send 3, and then they give up a scramble for 15 yards.
Exactly. Yeah. So pick your point. I mean,
just
base defense though, huh?
I do think
that quarterback really showed you, or that he was the better quarterback.
Really?
Wasn't even the best quarterback on his own team.
Oh, Hamby, don't be mad about the. Come on now.
Oh my, I can't.
Hamby, that's good for the sport.
Gonna show Ewers that I'm the best quarterback in the game.
What about Scadaboo?
Hey, man.
Talking his stuff.
Yeah, how many times did Arizona State even let you throw? You threw it it seemed like 6 times in the whole game.
Hamby. Don't be the SEC guy right now.
Run on first and 10. Scadaboo's out there gasping for breath.
This dude right here.
On his 9th life.
Hamby.
He's got to be out of the game. We're still not going to play action pass. We're still going to hand it to the second guy.
Was there not a Texas guy at halftime who tweeted something who got it deleted?
Yeah, he's an idiot too.
Okay then. But don't just say, oh, yeah, Arizona State. Texas had the worst thing of all.
But at least he played good.
Oh, yeah.
I missed that. What happened?
To talking smack about Scadaboo at halftime.
This freshman edge guy.
A player?
At half.
Yes.
At half.
Come on, Brent was
like
everywhere.
A rising star. They're freshmen on the edge.
What did he say? He said, I want out or something? So basically, so Scadaboo was talking smack.
Yeah.
Right? But when I mean say talking smack, just saying that he's the best running back in the country. Cool. Like, I probably wouldn't have said it. Yeah, bulletin board material, all that stuff. But whatever. So he goes out in the first half. Whatever happens, happens. And then the freshman.
Hold on.
You got it, Hamby?
I'm about to pull that up.
Oh.
I totally missed that.
Oh, man, it was fun.
Scadaboo was great, by the way.
He was fantastic in this freshman.
But in the first half, he was...
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But obviously he was sick and throwing up.
But then I'm pretty sure, too, that at halftime, word got around to Arizona State, and they told the team about it. And then Scadaboo got ticked because, the quarterback alludes to it after the game, I think.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
So this is like a repost of, I guess, ESPN saying, Scadaboo's frustrated because he's not getting a lot of yards, right? There's not a whole lot of openings.
What's the poop emoji?
At half.
It's halftime.
And he's on the roster?
He was making plays.
Oh, yeah, he's out there.
Yes, he's out there.
He's out there.
A great player.
But then, so this was out for what, Hamby? Maybe 2 minutes?
I don't know.
And then it got deleted,
not
obviously.
Long.
Obviously.
But what a great example, again, though, of the players. What kind of things can you police if you're a coach, right? It just shows the power of the player, being able to do that, or just the idiocy of the player. Well, one thing that really sticks out at you, and somebody's like, well, the Jags do this all the time. The missed field goals, the false starts. And I was like, that doesn't happen late in NFL games. Sure. It's a reminder that these guys are still amateurs. They're getting paid like pros, but they're young players in key situations, which are nerve-wracking situations, which are high-profile situations. But they're both teams. I mean, it was back and forth on these critical times. And listen, will you get a penalty that you shouldn't get in the NFL? Yes. But you don't get 4 in a row false starts either way in these critical moments or in overtime, which you just did. And again, I think that's the nature of – I think we're going to have to remind ourselves, even though these guys are getting paid, that they are – young players. They are amateurs for a reason. They are not playing at that level, although the dollars have welcomed you into criticizing them like an NFL player,
except for Jeremiah Smith. He is an NFL player.
Oof, wow. How do you make people like that at that? Yeah, I mean, he's 19 years old.
How is he 220 pounds?
Did you see the image, by the way, of when they put up the graphic with comparing him to Terrell Owens and whoever else? I forget what was the other one they compared him to. He looks bigger than them.
I know.
He's 19. Like, he looked in the picture bigger than them.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Yep. And he's going to be like Bowers. Remember now, they were saying that about Bowers. Freshman year, like if he comes out right now, he's a top 15 pick. He's the best tight end in the class. Well, look what Bowers just did. And then they're saying this about this kid already.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's going to be a darn good one, almost like a can't miss kind of guy. And the question I have when I watch that game is how in the world did Ohio State lose to Michigan?
Yeah, that's
all I could ask myself. It's like, how did they lose to Michigan? Like, I don't know if you should applaud Ryan Day for what he's done since, or be like, how the hell did you lose to them?
Maybe you say, holy cow, Will Johnson is the best cornerback prospect in the draft that we've had in years because he must have shut down Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah,
maybe, but Ohio State's got like 3 of those dudes.
Well,
I mean, their defense is better than their offense, you know.
Of course.
Michigan State's offense is terrible.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just well, listen, I've really enjoyed the college playoffs. I think it brings up a lot of different things, and like I said, I think the coaching gets a little exposed at times, like this decision making. We got to figure out the clock somewhere. Somebody's got to come up with something to figure out the clock in college and NFL. I do not know why these guys can't get this right. Some of the same mistakes you'll see like on a Tuesday and they make it again on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Like, have they watched the other games? Like, are we learning here? I don't get it. And I really don't get that. But at the end of the day, I think we've got ourselves some pretty good stuff.
Real quick, you mentioned Jeremiah Smith. If you had the opportunity to put money on who's going to have the better, like, storied career, we go on Ryan Williams from Alabama or Jeremiah Smith from
Smith all day.
Okay.
All day.
All day?
Yeah, that was the other guy. It was Julio Jones he was compared to.
Yeah,
and you know what? When you put him up there in a picture with those guys, I was like, yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, okay.
You know? And Ryan Williams is thin, so it gives you a little pause. Now, listen, Brian Thomas Jr. ain't a big guy.
Yeah.
Right? He's not that big of a guy.
Yeah.
And look what he's doing. So, I mean, Devontae Smith has had a nice career, right?
For sure.
So there are.
I mean, it helps getting the ball, though, too. Like, I don't think Jalen Milroe helping out Ryan Williams, a lot.
Yeah, boy. Here's one thing, guys. I didn't think we'd go this much in college right yet, but I wonder, Jackson Dart's playing tonight, and I wonder, are these, if you go blow by the quarterbacks or just the ones in my mind, these guys shouldn't have played. I mean, look, Cam Ward played very well, but look what came with it.
When he was in.
Yeah, when he was in. Look what came with it. You could make the case, I don't think it's true, that he's going to lose some draft stock because of the situation. So, hurts himself, potentially, at least image-wise, hurts himself. You look at Milroe. Ooh, no way, man. Look at Dylan Gabriel. You know, like, look, these guys that have played, and Jackson Dart's going to be another example tonight. Now, I expect Ole Miss to win big, but these guys that were almost playoff teams have really crapped the bed. I mean, look at South Carolina and Alabama.
Well, I mean, if you're in the playoff, you have to play. But I'm saying with Milroe, though, like, I don't know. I think, you can definitely hurt yourself. I think there's a lot more to gain. Like, look at the dude from Arizona State, the running back. Like, that dude Scadaboo
might have jumped 2 rounds.
I mean, I have no idea. Like, I didn't know about him until that game, and like he did it against some pretty good competition. So I feel like that skyrocketed him. Yeah. I think Milroe was kind of in a place where it's like, I mean, you kind of struggled this season, like the entire season. Like, you weren't that good. So I get trying to showcase against a Michigan team that I thought was depleted, but I guess not. I understand it, Brent.
Yeah, look, I'm not advocating for them not to play.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it's interesting that I think most of them have hurt their stock.
I don't get Sanders playing.
Oh,
because Sanders is already set.
Yeah.
He probably didn't help himself at all, but
I mean, can you really?
Other than Scadaboo, has anybody helped themselves? That's a big name in the top that you know of off the top of your head. I would say even Ashton Genty, most people say might have hurt himself. I think the opposite. I was actually very impressed with Genty. I know it doesn't seem...
The fumbles didn't help, though.
Fumbles didn't help. But one of them was really weird. Mm-hmm. And I think you can sit there and watch that game and you're like, okay, this guy's trying to do a lot. He's trying to do too much because he's the only guy, right?
Dude's breaking 5 tackles per handoff.
But I'm telling you, the way he ran and the way he doesn't get tackled initially, and you can't bring him down at first contact. He reminds you of Derrick Henry in that sense, where it's very hard, even for and they were obliterating them at the line of scrimmage, right? I mean, they own the line of scrimmage. So what does he do with a better offensive line is what my mind goes to, and I'm like, damn, this dude's good. Like, I didn't watch a ton of Genty. I watched some of them. And when you're watching him play against some of those teams, it's like, this was obviously a team that you were getting beat up by in the trenches. And just some of the way I thought the way he composed himself, I thought the way he ran, I thought some of the runs that he had were like, this can really transcend. I actually came out of that game, even though the yardage wasn't where you'd want it to be, thinking, this dude's good. And I kind of like him more coming out of that game than I liked him going in, to be honest with you.
No. You had to see him against a real defense, and he stood up.
Well, I mean, and I get we want to make fun of Oregon now, but like at the time, I think Oregon was a pretty solid team.
Yeah, but you want to see
and he took him to for sure you want to see it again, but like he took Oregon to the limit, man. Yeah. What do you have? Like over, I think he had 200 total?
He had almost 200.
They lost by
192.
Yeah.
One guy I definitely thought increased their stock from yesterday, I know off the top of my head, was that Tyler Warren, tight end from Penn State.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. He was already the number one tight end.
They already talked Travis Kelce.
Is he a tight end or what is? I mean,
he's everything.
He does everything.
But, yeah, he's a tight end.
Yeah, that's a good-looking player. I'll say this about Oregon, and this used to happen. I'm trying to think of the comps that used to happen. This is where Alabama would beat people, right? Like maybe it's Notre Dame, but Notre Dame doesn't come across as fast like Oregon does. But it felt like a style difference. Oregon, again, Genty might be able to run against them because they're not as physically imposing. What are they usually? Fast, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not telling you they can't be physical. They played in the Big Ten and they ran the table, right? But they also, they got their butt whooped. You talk about a physical mismatch.
Oh, yeah.
Penn State and Boise State felt it. The SMU game was a blowout, but SMU wasn't bullied by Penn State as much. The quarterback played terrible in that game, and he turned the football over nonsense. They were not like outclassed by like a landslide on the field. I think the quarterback just never gave him a chance. I thought the biggest mismatch physically might have been Oregon and Ohio State. They got whooped on every play, man. They were getting smacked. And, I just didn't – I was like, man, that's a style game. That's like one of these Alabama whoever games where you're like, are they going to be able to – the speed of this or versus the power of that? Maybe you go back 10, 12 years with Alabama. And, man, power usually wins those battles, right?
Absolutely.
Power, the physicality usually wins those battles. And Ohio State, they might have looked electric, but they beat the heck out of – they punched them.
It reminded me when they played Ohio State in the championship game. This is like, 2000 – I can't remember. 2016, 15 – 14, whatever. When they played Ohio State, they got blown out.
Yeah,
because they were a speed, pass first team. And you had Ohio State. It was just in the trenches. That's what they do.
Yeah, no creativity on it. They ran the same damn first down run like 14 times in a row, and they went nowhere.
I don't think they had it. Yeah, I think they kind of when they're doing like the trick plays, like the third drive. It's like I think you guys are kind of out of options.
Yeah, you knew it. Like he threw in the towel early in that game. Remember, it was like a 4th and 4,
and he didn't punt,
and he punted.
He punted. Yeah,
and I was like, oh boy, he just knows he ain't winning this thing.
Yeah.
Which he wasn't. But I'm just saying, it was a little early throwing in the towel. Good if you had the under. Anyway, we'll take a break. That's a lot of college football talk, but it's kind of fun. We didn't even do the targeting call. We'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah. It was targeting, but
it was targeting.
It was.
Yeah. All right, we're on the same page there at least.
Yeah.
I like
Still
it.
don't know if I wanted the flag thrown.
I said that. I got crushed on Twitter for saying that too.
Really?
Yeah. All right, we'll talk Jags. Hey, Jags have some Pro Bowlers, and good for them. Brian Thomas Jr. isn't one of them. How much did he get snubbed here? He still could get to Orlando. And what does it say about this roster overall as the Jags head into the season finale, and we're days away now from possible big changes coming in Jacksonville? We'll hit the NFL side of things and the Jags, of course. Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with the Brent Austen Show, 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. right here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy respect, fairness. The most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnicht. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnicht. GMC. We are professional grade.
Another exciting week of basketball for the Ospreys of North Florida, both at home and on the road. The men's basketball team started off the week on Thursday at home with a 115-83 win over Warner. It was a huge night for Ospreys freshman Josh Harris, who dropped 26 on 11 of 14 shooting to go along with his 14 boards in 27 minutes. Then on Saturday, the Ospreys traveled to Statesboro to take on Georgia Southern. UNF found themselves down 17 in the second half, but came storming back to force overtime. Unfortunately, the Ospreys couldn't complete the full comeback as they fall 93-91. Both the men and the women are back at UNF Arena this week as the men take on UNC Greensboro and the women take on UNC Asheville. Both games are on Saturday. And remember, you can find schedules, results, tickets, and more at UNFOspreys.com.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, save $1,000 or more when you bundle a Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
New to town or always been in town? Everyone is always looking for a good pizza place. Our place is Donato's Pizza. We love it and still do love it. When I tell my family I'm coming to Donato's, they say, wait a minute, you gotta order some for us. So this is not all for me. Let me tell you what the Martineaus get when we put an order in. Well, pepperoni pizza, we usually get more than one of these. And then there's the works, a little bit of everything. And then this is the pizza that can be polarizing for some out there. I don't know why. Hawaiian pizza, some love it, some don't. At Donato's, you're gonna love it, especially with that cinnamon sprinkled on top. Try the pizza my family likes or try your favorite. Right now, you can use the code BRENT20 and get 20% off your order. Every viewer and listener is important to us, and at Donato's Pizza, every piece is important. From fresh ingredients to the dedicated team members and you, the valued customer. Donato's Pizza, where every piece comes together for a winning combination. Jack's Beach and Mandarin locations. Donato's Pizza, every piece is important.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Anthony Richardson did not practice on Wednesday. I mean, I hate it for guys when the labeling becomes you just don't play, you know? We had that with Marquise Lee. Marquise Lee is a great example of this, though he's such a specimen. And obviously Anthony Richardson is too, but it's like, is he ever ready? Is he going to play? And that becomes the topic. And I just don't like that. I think it's an unfortunate thing because, first of all, these guys want to play.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. It's bad luck. Mm-hmm. And then you get the people who are just like, he's so fragile, or he's this, or he's soft, or he's... It's like, really? You know, we know that's not the case. Our fandom gets out of control when that stuff is the case. But it's unfortunate because a lot of times when you get labeled that way, that is kind of who you become. Like it's for whatever reason in sports, like how many guys get labeled that way and then come out of it on the other side. Now look, we're seeing Saquon Barkley a little bit labeled that way, and now he's healthy for a year and look what he can do. I'm a little concerned about this over the last calendar year with Trevor. I mean, because now we're getting to a point where Trevor just hasn't played a lot of football in the last year and a half. So, like, my fingers are so crossed all the time that you don't lose your quarterback and that guys don't get hurt. But he really can't get hurt like next year. He's got to make it through the season. Joe Burrow is a little bit like this, right? 2 out of the first 4 years. Lamar Jackson, we asked about the final 6 games. Like, when you have, it's one thing to do it once. Twice, the questions start coming. Or at least the conversation starts coming. And if you do it 3 times, like, oh, man, you got to avoid that 3rd time. Like, you really got to stay healthy.
Is that how we're kind of feeling about Christian Kirk right now?
Yeah, in a weird way, because we had Kirk on the show Monday. He's like, this is the most football I've ever missed in my life.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he missed it when he was a kid and had this stuff. Like, some people even have that early on in their life. You know, you play with some guys in high school, whatever, they just can't stay healthy. But I think you start asking these. We're asking about Tyson Campbell a little bit. It's 2 years in a row where it's in and out of the lineup, where it feels like somewhat lost seasons. And when's he going to be able to know that he's going to play at full strength, get the confidence to play the way he wants to play? So, again, I think I hate the conversation because it's not like these guys are doing anything to get hurt.
No, and it's weird, man, because I don't feel like other, like, some players' body is like more put together than another player's body. Like, oh, well, but like you see soft tissue injuries, and it's like, well, why doesn't he ever get it? Like, why doesn't Derrick Henry ever get hurt?
It's a great call.
Why doesn't Derrick Henry ever get hurt?
Because he's a fine-tuned machine, just like a guy like Marquise. Sure,
but so is Saquon Barkley. Yeah, exactly. But Saquon Barkley's a fine-tuned machine too, and prior to being with the Eagles, like, he can never stay healthy.
Yeah.
So you have some instances where it's like Nick Chubb, like when Nick Chubb got his leg, disintegrated. Like, okay, I think any player that would probably happen to. But like the soft tissue stuff sometimes, man, I don't get it.
I really, again, Marquise Lee was the one for me that did this because, first of all, I'm a big fan of Marquise, and I thought he's a talented guy. Just couldn't stay on the field, and it was always soft tissue. It was nothing structural.
Yeah.
It was always soft tissue. But, like, I genuinely say this, and I say it in a complimentary way. Like, you would see Marquise Lee, and he was, like, his percentage of body fat had to be, like, what's, like, the lowest you can get? Like 6%? Tank Bigsby told me earlier this year on the show that his body fat's 6%, and I think that's about as low as you can get. Something in there. And but
Greg Jones is like minus 2%. But yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
But anyway, Marquise Lee was like that, and I used to cover horse racing.
Yeah,
and I really I started equating Marquise Lee to a horse, in the sense that he's so finely tuned. Like the racehorses, it's the reason they get scratched. They don't get scratched because they broke their leg getting out of the trailer. They get scratched because there's like a little inflammation, and it's more of a soft tissue injury because they're so finely tuned. They're so tightly wound that, like, just a little thing, it's something.
Yeah.
And that was always the way I viewed Marquise Lee, right or wrong. I just viewed it that way because it's like, man, you're almost like too physically gifted.
True. Yeah.
Where I think you put your body at risk. And you think that the stronger you are, the least chance you are of injury. I don't think that's always the case, depending on your body composition and other things. Again, that's just my theory. It's not a trained theory.
Well, yeah, and Hamby's brother brings up a good point. That spends $250,000 a year, King Henry does, on his body. And, I mean, Calais Campbell.
They do too.
Another classic example.
Yeah. Again, so much of this is luck. It's a violent game. You know, I
can
say
be preparation too, Brent. Though
it could be. I say it on one side, Austin, but then I'm like, the guys that do stay healthy, I'm like, man, that's lucky in this game. How do you survive this game 17 weeks?
Yeah.
And not get hurt, get like hurt to the point where you can't play.
Yeah.
Like, give a guy. People. I don't know how people feel about Anton Harrison. Overall, these last couple years, I've been a fan of him. And I don't think he's a bad player. I don't think he took the step I wanted to see him take this year. But I think that guy never plays healthy. Remember last year he had the shoulder injury his rookie season coming out of camp. He played the whole season, never missed a game. Watch how many times that guy, him and Sheriff, are the two guys that go down the most in a game that get up the slowest and still get out there and play. And it's like, I think there's a lot to be said for that for Anton Harrison at 23 years old. It doesn't mean he's the greatest player, but I think he's an example of man, he's playing hurt all the time. So do we even have a test of him being healthy?
Yeah.
And so I think there are some critics of Harrison, and my response is, yeah, but is he healthy? Like, is he? I mean, he's going against some of the best players in the game week in, week out, and you're asking him to play when he's like 70%, which is better than your next option.
Yeah.
And you give him a hat tip for being tough, but it also brings up that question, should he even be out there at times? And I don't know. Well, ironically, the one time he did not play in his career so far is because he was sick. The morning of the game, he was sick, and he didn't go. So pretty interesting. Anyway, hey, the Pro Bowl came out this morning, which I had no idea. Did you guys know the Pro Bowl stuff was coming out this morning?
No idea.
I mean, I literally had texted, hey, we're going to have the specialists on the show or tweeted on Jaguars All Access, and like 2 minutes later, I saw the report of the specialists making the
Pro Bowl
Pro Bowl.
specialist. Yeah.
So now we got those guys on the show tonight on Jaguars All Access. Hopefully you can come out there. But Logan Cooke, it is cool to see Logan make it. And Ross Matiscik obviously continues to establish himself as one of the best long snappers in the game. This is back-to-back Pro Bowls for him. But pretty cool to see Logan Cooke make it.
No, I mean, it's great to see Logan Cooke make it. It's been, I feel, a couple years coming, obviously. I mean, I get with the punter, sometimes it's as good as your team is doing, where you get more noticed. Listen, and shout out to the long snapper, too, Ross Matiscik for Matiscik. Matiscik. I've never said his name.
I won't ask you to spell it.
Matiscik, yeah. Don't want to be one of those guys, but gonna be one of those guys. How do you make the Pro Bowl for a long? Like, well, what do they look at? I mean, obviously, if you have a fumble, then or like a botched snap, you're done. You're done. Yeah,
but yeah. So there's a cleanliness to it, right?
Okay.
And then, but I think he has 2 special teams tackles this year.
Oh.
And like that's a lot. That's my point. That sounds like, oh yeah, so what, right?
Yeah, yeah.
No, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And he's always down. Like people say, Ross Matiscik, the best part about him, one, he's clean on the snaps, but he is down the field to make the tackle just as quick as anybody else. He's a former linebacker at Baylor.
Okay.
And last year he made the Pro Bowl, I think, on one play. Remember he forced a fumble? I think it was against Tennessee. Okay. He actually forced the fumble, and I think he recovered the fumble if I have that one right.
Okay.
But you watch, he's got a couple of tackles that he'll make, and it's like, wow, that's the guy snapping the football that went down and made the tackle.
So basically we're saying if he ever like causes a fumble and gets it and takes it back for a touchdown, we're talking Hall of Fame.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer.
I don't think there's ever been a Hall of Fame long snapper, but he might be on his way.
There's never been a Hall of Fame long snapper?
I can't imagine.
It's an important position.
It is. It's important as long as you don't know about it.
Yeah, you're going to have punters in the Hall of Fame. You're going to have kickers. You can't have a long snapper? That's interesting.
Listen, there's been a joke.
No player in the Hall of Fame has ever been a long snapper.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Well, I guess, okay. But even I can't even name any good long snappers, so I have no idea.
The only time I've covered a long snapper before Jacksonville was the Giants guy. Now I can't remember his name, but he botched like a huge snap in the playoffs or in the wild card game or something like that.
Sure.
And I think he was with San Francisco at the time, and then the Giants got him, or maybe it was against San Francisco. Now I can't remember. I think he was with the Giants. And I just remember, like, I wasn't necessarily covering like I was covering the Jags. I remember it being such a big topic, and I just remember feeling really bad for that guy. He had gone like 12 or 13 years in his career and had never messed up a snap. And he messed up a snap like in that moment. I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Like what a job. What a job where you get absolutely no praise. But everybody's going to know when you screwed it up.
Yeah, but to be fair, I'm sure you can probably have a pretty long career if you're doing it right.
Oh yeah,
because you're not taking a lot of abuse. Like, they don't line up over you anymore.
No, and we had a good one. Now I can't remember his name. Who was the long snapper forever here? You didn't play with him. It might have been right before your time. Zelenka, Joe Zelenka.
Oh,
sorry.
okay. Yeah.
So Joe Zelenka was a long snapper for a long time in Jacksonville, and what they started to do is replace Zelenka. In part, what they do is they replace the long snapper when he hits a certain amount of money, because usually that means he got certain age, and I mean that's you got to replace that because you don't want to pay a long snapper that much money.
Yeah.
So if you're making like $1 million as a long snapper, that's way too much. The other way you replace him is, I think Overton. I think Matt Overton was right before Ross Matiscik. And Overton ended up hanging on like in Indianapolis and the Chargers. Good dude. And he was good too. But I think when Matiscik came in, I think the reason they got him was because he was faster. So if you get a little older as a long snapper, you get slower. And they want you to be able to get down the field.
Sure.
And so Matiscik will snap until he either really messes it up or he gets older and slower, is my point. Because he either costs too much money or he can't get down there as much as a young pup could. No, actually, it wasn't Overton. It was the gosh, I'm bad on long snapper names. Who's the Alabama kid?
I know the wrestling. He was in wrestling, right?
Alabama kid who survived the tornado story.
Yeah, he was a big fan of wrestling.
Great guy. Why am I? My gosh, I'm getting old. Here we go in 2025. I won't be able to remember anything.
One second, man. I know exactly. Carson Tinker.
Carson Tinker.
Yeah, there we go.
Sorry, Carson. That's bad. Joe Zelenka, Carson Tinker.
Yeah.
Two really good dudes, too. But anyway, I think it was Tinker who they replaced.
Okay.
Because he wasn't as fast as Matiscik, if I have my timing right. But that's the point. And so I don't know how they do it, but I think he's very well respected. Mm-hmm. And once he makes one, now it's like, okay, now eyes are on him. Right?
On him. Yeah,
and so he made it because of the play, the fumble last year, and now here he goes. And again, it's part of the respect about the specialist is the operation. And if you listen to Cam Little tonight on the show, and he'll talk about how these guys are the best in the business at the operation, meaning the snap and the hold and the timing of that. And Cam Little's walked into a very good situation in that regard. So, and there's an art to all that we don't understand. There's a game within a game that we really don't just care about as football fans. But and I think Cam Little could be on his way to a Pro Bowl at some point too. I mean, they have a very good special teams unit is the bottom line. Logan Cooke's been doing this forever. He's the longest tenured Jag. Just feel really good for him that he's going to get recognized finally for it. And then you got the alternates. Now you got Josh and Trayvon. And I'll get to the Josh and Trayvon part in a minute. But you get Brian Thomas Jr. as an alternate. Zay Flowers made it. Jerry Jeudy made it, and obviously, Jamar Chase did, but I'm not talking about him in this conversation. Somebody else I'm missing. But it's like, man, Brian, are we being homers in saying that Brian Thomas Jr. should be in over Jeudy and Zay Flowers?
Well, I mean, okay, I don't think we're being homers for saying that, but like at the same time, and like I'll have to look up Judy's numbers because it's not like Jerry Jeudy plays on an exciting team to watch. Right, like it'd be one thing if it's like a popular, like so Zay Flowers. I don't know what Zay Flowers' numbers are, but he plays in Baltimore, right?
Like 1,100 yards.
So I feel like he kind of gets
4 touchdowns.
Okay, so I feel like he gets a bump a little bit. I don't know what. I mean, I'll look up Judy's numbers.
Judy's numbers are about 1,100 yards and 4 touchdowns. One has 4 and one has 6.
And what does Brian Thomas Jr. have?
Brian's got 1,180 yards and 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So 10 touchdowns. Like he's got 6 more than those guys.
Yeah.
And here's what I would say. I'll have to look this one up, but I think on the Jeudy front. You guys play fantasy football, so you know this better. But didn't Jeudy basically, once Winston got in, he had like 4 or 5 weeks?
Oh, he went off.
He went off.
So
off. But Brian Thomas Jr.'s been doing this since week 1 against Jalen Ramsey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That would be my criticism of that. And again, I'm not criticizing that they shouldn't make it. Mm-hmm. Just kind of thinking like, really? There's a popularity contest at times. I get it.
It is, yeah.
And the Ravens had 9 Pro Bowlers.
Yeah.
And my thought is, don't worry about it because Brian Thomas is going to get in anyway. And at the end of the day, what you learn is it doesn't matter if it just matters if you get in. Nobody asks you how you got in. Nobody asks you if you're the 7th alternate to get in or whatever, how you get in. As long as you get in, you got it on your resume. So he needs somebody to bow out and maybe Zay Flowers make a Super Bowl or something like that. And I think that will happen. Now, who knows? Because they don't really play the game, so I think there'll be less opt-outs. But hopefully Brian Thomas gets in because I think it's well-deserved. He's putting stuff up that nobody's done in the history of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I can see Zay Flowers getting in just because of how successful the Ravens have been, but it's hard to co-sign Brian Thomas Jr. not making it over Jerry Jeudy.
Who's the other guy here that I'm missing? There's
Jamar Chase?
Nah, there's one
Nico
other.
Collins probably, huh?
Oh, Nico. Yeah, and I'm okay with Nico Collins. I think he's built up a little bit of a...
Yeah, he's got a rapport.
Because last year, right? And that's the way this works. But I would also argue that Brian Thomas Jr. has been better than Nico all year on a whole thing. He's got 6 touchdowns, I think Nico does.
Yeah.
So, again,
I mean, listen, I think Brian Thomas Jr. should be in over Jerry Jeudy. And I don't think that's really biased. I just think that they have comparable numbers. One has a lot more touchdowns than the other. And one, like you said, Brent kind of did it consistently throughout the season as opposed to a guy who got the Jameis Winston bump.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is. Now, as for the other guys, they're not going to get in. They're like 4th and 5th alternates, Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen. I was looking up something. When you say 8 sacks, right, and 9.5 sacks for these guys, it just doesn't feel big, right? Doesn't feel good enough. Is that fair to say?
I mean, I think the standard is 10. So yeah, the fact that they haven't got to 10 yet, I think would say, like, yeah, maybe it's a little bit of an underachieving season.
I don't think the standard is 10. I think before the season we were saying for Josh 12, 13.
No, absolutely. But I think, like, what divides you from being a great or a good to great pass rusher, Hamby, like, yeah, we had high expectations for sure. But I think, like, 10 is
position in general.
Yeah, 10 is the mark.
Okay.
Where it's like, if he had 10 sacks, like, I had a pretty good season.
All right.
If he doesn't have 10 sacks, I mean, that's what we think.
Yeah, and so, okay, so here's where I'm going with this, guys. We did this, I think you weren't on the show, maybe it was last year, maybe it was 2 years ago, I don't know, going in. But we did this on the old show.
Okay.
And what we did is we took, like, I think we did it on the old show. You can remind me if we did it earlier this year. It's been or last year. The amount of people who get more than 8 sacks in a season in the NFL is limited. And what happens is you get 8 to 10, and then you have like a 10 to 12, and then you have a 13 plus. Now, the 13 plus, there's like a handful of guys.
Okay.
That's it. You get like 6 guys. And then 10 to 12, you get like somewhere, I forget the exact numbers, but you might get 8 to 10 of them. I mean, 11, 12 sacks is a lot. It's a big jump is my point. And then you get that 8+ sack is really a delineation between like the upper tier guys and everybody else. And so when I saw the number, this is what reminded me of the conversation. He has 8 now, which I think is 22nd in the league.
This is
Josh.
Josh, okay.
9.5 is 12th in the league in sacks. But my point is, when I say 8 and 9.5, you guys would be like, oh, yeah, that's like middle of the pack. Like, right, your idea would be that's like way down out of 100 edge rushers or whatever there are, that would be like 40-something. It's not. It's in the top 20, basically. Both are essentially in the top 20. And if they get to 10, there are only 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 9 guys right now in the National Football League through 16 games that have 10 sacks. So, and this year is a bit down in terms of the crazy numbers. Hendrickson, Josh, Myles Garrett, those guys have had bigger years.
Yeah.
Hendrickson leads again. Is he an underrated player or what? He's got 14.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett's got 14. Donnell Hunter's got 12. And then there's a bunch at 11.5. Kyle Van Noy, who keeps getting it done.
Where's Fowler at? Isn't Dante Fowler up there?
Yes, I'm going to give you him in a minute. TJ Watt, of course, who many people think going to win Defensive Player of the Year, and I'm not really sure he should. Van Ginkel, your guy.
Yeah.
Benito in Denver. Grenard in Minnesota. They have 2 guys at 11.5, by the way. Dante Fowler has 10.5 sacks. So, you know, it's to get to 10 is a lot. Micah Parsons has 9.5. Now, Micah missed a lot of the season. So
makes you wonder what he would have if he actually played the full season.
I know. He's played 12 games.
Okay.
Nick Bosa has 9 sacks. Who's still a good player. Now, he missed a couple of games, but he's got 9. So, again, I'm not trying to sell you that these guys should be Pro Bowlers. I'm just trying to put in perspective the numbers that we don't think Josh is high enough and everything else. And my big defense of both of these guys is that they have probably, out of all these guys, they have led the least amount of football in terms of minutes.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And that factors in. I think that's one of the reasons the Jags don't have as many turnovers. And I think that's one of the reasons these guys don't have as many sacks. I think you could say easily each one of these guys would have 2 or 3 more sacks if the Jags had a flip-flop record. Well, 13-4 would be a lot to ask for. I'm saying if they were 500 and they led in some of these games, you'd close the door in games because of being.
I mean, to be fair, though, Trey Hendrickson, like, it's not like the Bengals are that good of it. Well, they might go to the playoffs now, but they're. I don't know.
No, that's a fair point. That doesn't take away from what he's doing, but I would say this: he still has 4 more wins.
Sure.
So 4 more wins is maybe 2 more sacks for these guys.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So I do think that's part of the story this year.
And the interior pass rush.
Well, yeah, and then there's all that stuff, right? There's Josh after 17.5 is getting a lot of attention. And Trayvon, I think, there are numbers out there where the last couple of years he's drawn a lot of double teams. I don't know what the current numbers are. What else is noticeable about what I think the Jags have? The Jags have 2 young pass rushers, and Josh is still young. He's now a veteran, but he's still young. He's entering basically the prime of his career.
Yeah.
They have 2 guys, but they're not alone in that. Look at the rest of the NFL. Houston, in the division, also has 2 guys. They got Donnell Hunter and they've got Will Anderson. Now, Donnell's on the opposite side. He's on the I wouldn't say downside, but he's closer to that side. Yeah. He's not young anymore. And then you have the Minnesota guys this year, Van Ginkel and Grenard, who are young guys. So I think the Jags are one of 3 teams basically in the National Football League that can boast a tandem that you can almost count on double-digit sacks every year. You can count on them to mess up games for you, and that's something that the Jags can at least hang their hat on going forward.
Brent, do you have the list of sack leaders there? Okay. Where's Nick Bosa?
Bosa is down at number 15, but he only played 13 games.
Okay. Josh Hines-Allen is where?
Josh is down. Josh is at 20. I guess 23 now. He's
23. Okay. Is Brian Burns on there? Anywhere near it?
He's at 23. He also has 8.
Interesting. Okay. TJ Watt.
Big contract.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Watt is at number 4 at 11.5. But that's the least amount of sacks probably for Watt in a long time.
Sacks are down across the board.
And then let's go with Myles Garrett and Montez Sweat.
So Garrett is at 16. I'm sorry. No, 16 games played. He's at 14 sacks.
Okay.
And you said Montez Sweat?
Because I'm going.
He also is tied with Josh and Brian Burns. So you're going by $1.
So I'm going by dollars in terms of average per year, how much these edge rushers are making. So interesting. Okay.
But my point in all now, listen, Aiden Hutchinson has 7.5 sacks and he played 5 games, so he could have had a monster year this year. But Max Crosby also has missed some games. He's got 7.5. That's another sack guy, right?
No, I mean, basically, what I'm getting at is the next crop of edge rushers that are going to be slated to get paid as free agents. I'm wondering if the value is going to go up or it's going to go down now.
It's a good question.
Because, I feel like the biggest fluctuating position, it seems like, is the edge rusher in terms of how much they make as free agents.
Well, we had that year a couple years ago, right? Where
did.
It's like, what the hell's happened? That was the whole. Well, that was way back. That was Jan.
That was with Jan and then Dexter Lawrence. I forgot who the other guy was that got paid.
Yeah, people are like, we ain't paying these guys.
Correct.
A little bit last year or 2 years ago when Ingram got paid, the tight end position acted this way.
Sure.
We thought the tight end position would get a lot more. So you might be right. These guys broke the bank. Is it still going to elevate? I'm not sure. I don't know what. Do you guys have a theory on why the sacks are down?
I wish I did know.
I don't.
You don't. Well, I'll give you one. I'm just. You mentioned it. I'm looking at the numbers, and I would just say. Did we talk about this the other day where there are as many 1,000-yard running backs this year as there are wide receivers? You know that?
I had no idea.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody would know that in today's game because there's so many wide receivers that are good. So there's a domino effect there. There are so many wide receivers that are good. So take like Seattle.
That's a good game. How many 1,000-yard running backs can you name from this year? Because if there's as many as okay. Or do you have the list?
I can get it. Hang on.
Play a little game here. Or Hammy, you want to get the list so Brent doesn't cheat, so me and Brent can both play?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, you guys will be better at this game. You fantasy studs, you.
Yeah, I feel like I could probably nail this.
You think so? Then don't look it up.
Okay.
All right, Brent, you got it then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rushing yards. I like this game.
Yeah.
So I think the rushing yard leaders. Hang on.
I didn't know there was that because I bet Hammy's got me here then.
Can you tell me how many there are?
But hey, before I think I told you. I think they said there was 11.
As many as there's wide receivers, which is wild.
So yes, there's 13 now.
There's
actually.
13 running backs that rushed for 1,000 yards.
And by the way, since last week's game, there are now 17 receivers. So people just crossed the barrier.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of guys that have got a 1,030 and 40.
Sure.
But anyway, you get the point of the conversation. And so just to finish off my theory on why the sack numbers are down, the run has been brought back.
Yes.
Right? But the other part of that is that's because of the sack stuff. I think the run has been brought back. I also think we also have the haves and have-nots. You look at some of these teams, the sack leaders I mentioned, the Jags have one of the best tandems. Houston has one of the best tandems. Let's take Cleveland, has one of the best guys.
Sure.
I'll stop there for now, but I probably can give you more examples. Those aren't good teams.
Yeah.
Like even Houston's not a great team. They have not led by like double digits every game.
Correct.
So they're getting sack totals way up. So I think that might be one of the reasons why they're down a bit.
I mean, you can, and I can't remember how Thibodeau's doing, but like you got Burns and Thibodeau. Like I feel like that's an okay tandem,
but a terrible team. So
sure.
I think that has to play. You're going to run a little bit more, and we've got to give some credit to some offensive schemes. They've probably learned how to chip them better, neutralize them a little bit more. I don't think offensive line play is that much better. So I wouldn't put that on the list.
Yeah.
But I just think, listen, in a 17-game season, we might not get a guy above 15 sacks.
Yeah.
That's a little surprising in this pass-happy, what we think world.
It's crazy.
Now, for the 1,000-yard rusher, my theory is this. I'm sorry, 1,000-yard receiver. you have a lot to spread out. Let's just say the Jags have their full complement of players all year long.
Okay.
There's a really good chance that Brian Thomas Jr. then doesn't have 1,000 yards.
Correct.
There's a really good chance Kirk doesn't get there, but they all have 850, 900, 950, or brush up against 1,000 because you have plenty of them. Seattle, take them for example, right? They've got, I guess Lockett's losing a step a little bit, but you had 3 guys.
Yeah, but DK got hurt a little bit as well. I mean, that's why Njigba really emerged as kind of like the fantasy darling.
But that's my point. Like, look at San Francisco. They've got guys, but they've been beat up. But they got a lot of guys to share the rock with.
Correct.
So I wonder if that's why the receiver numbers are going, because everybody's got at least 2 or 3 receivers
not a bad
that are
point.
worth their salt.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my point. Okay, now let's go to the rushing. See if you can get it.
Okay, so
there's
how many is
13
there?
of them.
There's
I
I
don't
can't
feel
even
like
name 13 running backs in general.
I don't feel like that's a lot.
Really? For 1,000-yard rushers, the way that teams want to use like multiple running backs in a game.
Okay, let me try.
Oh no, let's go back and forth. So
All right, you go ahead. You go first.
Okay. Well, I'll say Derrick Henry. Obviously.
Okay, Saquon.
Okay. I'm gonna say Josh Jacobs.
Okay.
I mean, hang on.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Kyron Williams.
Yep. 3rd in the league, by the way.
All right. Over 1,000. Go ahead and give me Cook from Buffalo. Oh.
No.
All right. Well,
Aaron Jones.
I will tell you this, though. He could get there if he plays. Like, very reasonable if he
Okay.
plays on Sunday. I don't know if he's planning on playing,
Okay.
but he is at 981.
Dang. Okay.
Aaron Jones.
Yes. By the way, an undertold story in the NFL this year is Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
I thought he was kind of done, didn't you guys?
No, for sure. Absolutely. You got to go Mixon. I suck at this game.
993.
I'm out.
Bijan Robinson.
And he might not play this week. I think they're resting
Oh,
everybody.
Bijan. That's right.
Bijan, yes, 4th in the league.
James Conner.
By the way, he's validating that pick. He's got 12 touchdowns, too. Wow, James Conner's over 1,000 yards.
Oh, yeah.
I would never have guessed James Conner.
Chuba.
Yep.
Chuba Hubbard.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Devon
95.
Achane.
I don't think
He's
so.
no way he's played enough, right? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, not even close.
All right, Hammy. Now we have to work together to get that.
What? How many does Devon have?
Wait, hold on. Maybe I missed him. Time out.
I don't think Achane has.
I can't tell you guys how bad my eyes are going into 2025.
Man, Brent, it's
I
rough
thought it
out
was
here
just when
for
it's
you.
old. It's like I need my glasses now.
It's rough out here.
It's 786 for Achane.
Alvin Kamara. Alvin?
So close. 950.
Dude.
So you.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying you can get to. He's 18th on the list. The other guys would have to go over 100 yards plus.
Yeah.
But there are 13 guys over 1,000. There are 5 other guys within 50 yards. Now, some of them might not play, but you could have 18 1,000-yard rushers this year. Now, again, I think we have to realize it could be a little bit of a product of a 17-game season. Do the math on that. That's not really a lot of yards per
it's not
game.
at
You
all.
just got to be able to play all the games.
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, there you go. Gotta be.
Yes, 1,273.
How many do we have now?
You guys said Barkley, Henry, Williams, Robinson, Jacobs, Gibbs, Hubbard, Connor, Jones. You are missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. Jonathan Taylor's got to be on there.
Yes.
Okay.
He's having a great year, by the
Yes.
way, Jonathan Taylor is, and we get to see him on Sunday. Jags didn't have to play him last time around, and I really think they didn't have to play him both times last year.
Antonio Gibson?
No way.
No.
Kenneth Walker.
No.
No, he's been hurt.
He's only been hurt for like 2 weeks, right?
Who's the Hammy, is there a legit dude in New England?
I will say you guys have the top 10 guys.
Okay.
That makes me feel better. I'm going to say David Montgomery just cleared it.
No.
Dang.
I think there's one you'll never get. I mean, not never, but I just have a hard time believing you'll get it.
How many? We got 4 more or 5 more?
4
Brent?
more to go.
4 more to go still. Man.
Come on, you fantasy
Put
freaks.
Najee Harris in there.
Yes.
Najee Harris.
Yes.
13.
He
He's
gets
got
the carries.
1,007 yards. He's tied with another guy at 1,007.
Okay.
Okay, I just got to look up like division stand. I just got to look at teams now.
That's okay.
Chase Brown. He's done so much receiving.
Since-
I'm
yeah,
going to
he's
say
a
no. I'm
receiver.
going to say
Since
no.
he-
I'm going to say
yeah.
no. I'm going to say no.
Do you think J.K. Dobbins, Hamby, or not? He got off to a hot start. I know he was out. J.K. Dobbins.
No.
Who's Denver's running back?
By the way, Chase Brown's only 10 yards away.
Okay.
Sorry for poo-pooing that.
It's not Denver because they've had Javonte. They've had everybody.
It's not. It can't be Tony Pollard, is it? Tony Pollard?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Quietly.
1017.
Hey, quietly.
He didn't play last week against Jacksonville.
Yeah. Okay, Tony Pollard.
Although they still ran all over him.
So we're missing
Right.
2 guys?
2 guys are left. Yep, number 11 and number 13.
I mean, it's not Breece Hall, I don't think.
No, it's not Brees.
Nope.
And who's Stevenson?
Nope.
From New England? No?
There's one we're missing. He's had a really good year.
Man,
He's a
I'm
really
already
good year.
embarrassed, Brent.
Robinson for the Commanders.
That's what I said. Brian Robinson.
No.
No? You said
No,
that?
you already said that. We got
Yeah.
it. Yeah, you guys got that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You said Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, I said
Yeah,
Bijan.
I said Brian Robinson.
Brian Robinson, no. Brian Robinson has 789.
Tyrone Tracy.
No. You're gonna kick yourself for not getting one of these, I think.
I mean, it's not okay. It's not
Rookie.
he's a rookie?
I think he's a rookie.
What?
Been a long year.
Rookie running back. Yeah, right.
Yes, he's
You can tell.
yes, he's a rookie.
Oh, Bucky Irvin.
Yes.
Oh,
Bucky Irvin has
that guy's
1,033. He's had a really good year.
Yeah.
I think I kind of picked him in our dynasty fantasy that I haven't looked at once since we picked him.
All right, Hamby, let's just
And
process
I
by
think
elimination.
Casey was like, "What the hell are you taking Bucky Irving for?"
So we have one more?
Process by elimination case, Hamby. It's not 49ers. It's not the Cardinals. We already said them. It ain't the Seahawks. It ain't the Rams.
No.
Can't be the Panthers. I said Chuba. It's not Alvin, so it's not the Saints. It's not the Falcons.
Could it be DeAndre Swift?
No, Swift is close. Swift is 894. He'd have to have a big game.
We said Josh Jacobs. We said
It's got to be somebody in the AFC.
AFC, Brent?
No.
What?
We've literally
We
hit
said the
every
Eagles. We said the
single team.
Commanders. We said, is this running? It's running backs.
It is.
Okay. Who's Dallas's? Is it Dwindle or Dwand?
Oh, Rico Dowds.
Oh, Dowds.
Dowdle.
Yeah, okay. Whatever.
Obviously, you guys don't have him.
No, obviously we don't. obviously, I'm not pounding the Dallas Cowboys for anything. Starts with the D, though.
It starts with a D.
Yeah.
Like in Dallas. That was awesome.
Samsonite. That was way off. Yeah. Okay.
That's crazy, though, right? And I'll just go one more thing. Then we're like way late for our
That's
break,
insane.
but that was fun anyway. Do you know Jaden Daniels, is really close? He's
Yeah.
at 864.
Yeah. By the way,
And on top
Pro
of
Bowler.
that, yeah. Lamar Jackson's at 852. He's 21. And there was another quarterback I was just looking at. Oh, Jalen Hurts is at 630, which obviously is way back.
Mm-hmm.
But to show you, Tank Bigsby's at 727. He's only carried it 154 times.
Everybody else has so many more carries than him.
Yeah. I mean, if he were to be the lead back, he'd have 1,000 yards this year.
Easy.
Yeah.
And what's crazy, this also shows you a little bit of why, I don't want to say it's not hard, because that is a hard position. And so to be able to be there all the time and be able to get the carries all the time. But he's only had 2 100-yard games. And I think his third best game was 90 yards. So it shows you that if you're consistent, you get to that 1,000-yard mark now, especially with 17 games. But most of these guys have not played 16 games. And I lied about that. The first 6 guys have played 16. But you take Jonathan Taylor, who's only played 13. He's got 1254.
Yeah.
He's really had a nice season. Jonathan Taylor has for Indianapolis, who the Jags, of course, will play. We'll talk a little bit more about the Jags. Kind of got onto that. But congratulations to the Pro Bowl, of course, Logan Cooke, Ross Matiscik. I think Brian Thomas Jr. will get to Orlando. We'll see if that is the case. And so I had a little thought about this, the Pro Bowl and guys making it or almost making it for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We just had to talk about Walker and Hines Allen. And you can tell me if I'm nuts next when we come back on the Brent Austen Show on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. We got Fleet and Footy coming up today at 2 o'clock. There's the lineup. Miller and Moulton kicked us off here in the new year, and the locker room at 1 o'clock, which actually we do a hybrid of the Jags locker room and also a little fireside chat with Lane Kiffin and Manny Diaz from yesterday. So you'll see some of that getting ready for the Taxslayer Gator Bowl, and Fleet and Footy at 2 o'clock, a live edition with Stuart Weber talking soccer, one of our newest shows on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. And by the way, got to give a shout out to Whataburger, because we missed 2 Whataburger Wednesdays here during the holidays. So we got to move them to Whataburger Thursdays, I guess, for the next couple of days. A little makeup for our friends at Whataburger. Glad to have them along here in 2025. It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access. Welcome to Spring Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence. You can bring your party or event to Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays. Here at Springs, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
'24 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team.
They sit in the dying moments.
Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242. You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing. Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, save 10% off a new Rinnai tankless water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Here on Spring Sports Media Day on Action Sports Jax.
It's an opportunity, an education beyond the classroom and the sports arena. Life skills, testing skills, social skills. It's called High School 912, a program focused on maximizing the growth of students in academics, sports, and life. And here's your chance to get involved. If you're a local business, or if you just want to make a donation to help support programs like ACT and SAT boot camps, career days, Leadership Academy, Financial Literacy Academy, and so much more.
Another Nice High School Panther, Jack Cole.
High School 912 supports and hosts high school sporting events and several media days throughout the year. For more information on how you can get involved, visit jaxhighschool912.com.
Baker Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices her pitching. Yeah! Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. Bakersport.com.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Taxslayer Gator Bowl tonight, 8:05 kick now, and it's downtown Everbank Stadium. TaxslayerGatorBowl.com, by the way, for tickets starting at $50. And there you see Lane Kiffin looking just enthused for Ole Miss, and Manny Diaz, obviously former Miami guy, and now coach at Duke. And Dan Hicken from Action Sports Jax moderating that. That was kind of a cool day yesterday, just a little half-hour thing, a bit different than a press conference, and I thought it was kind of fun. And those guys on the state of college football was very interesting. Might hear from them a little bit later. So hopefully we get a good game in town tonight with Ole Miss and Duke. Ole Miss heavy favorite, like 17-point favorite in this one. But the teams that thought they were complaining about going to the playoff have not performed well. I mean, South Carolina and Alabama, how shocking was that, Hamby? I mean, that was unbelievable. I thought South Carolina was going to really look good because they'd come in with the momentum like of an Arizona State and those kind of teams. And Alabama, I mean.
Does it just mean more in the Big Ten, Brent? Does it just mean a little more?
We know
in the Big
better.
Ten?
Years and years and years of looking at bowl games and bowl games and bowl games.
Does it just mean a little more in the Big Ten this year or what?
It's not the same team out there.
I will
what
say
are we doing?
I'm not going to pile on because I do think bowl games are different. I do think it's a different psyche, a different mentality.
It's different everything.
But the bottom line is, the way the SEC does act, they've brought this on themselves. I mean, not like whatever. You can be, but the way the SEC thinks they are. And the way guys like Lane Kiffin kind of tweet about it, like we're better than you and better than everybody, and because we play in the SEC, we deserve this, right? There's that thought that just because they have set that. So when you lose these games, and by the way, Michigan, who is not good, and had 10 guys, I think it was, missing from their defense, and they do that on the heels of Alabama. Losing like they did to Oklahoma and still thinking that they should have a chance.
With Alabama starting quarterback, by the way, too, who's still in.
So, like, again, like the SEC is going to sit here and say, look at the ACC. They stink. You know what? They do. But the bottom line is the ACC doesn't flaunt itself like the SEC does. Not even the Big Ten flaunts itself like that. So I don't know if it's because we're living in here, but and it is what it is. But you also know, man, people got those social media posts on draft, waiting for moments like this when it comes to the SEC.
It's just, and it's something like, and now we're really going to pile on here, but it's something like I'll never understand with the SEC though, because even like if the Big Ten's doing well, like Ohio State never wants to see Michigan do well.
No,
Michigan the same. Wisconsin never wants to see like Ohio. You know, like nobody likes each other.
Portnoy's rooting for Ohio State now, or for Michigan. Or he's rooting for Ohio State. He was at the game last week.
He's not my compass. So I know he's the compass.
If we're going to let Barstool Sports,
but he's not my compass.
The guiding light. I think we have an issue.
No, I wish I had his bank account. But
you're seeing it more and more now. Other people root for teams within their conference because of the playoff.
No, I got you. Yeah.
But your point was 100% correct that SEC was by far the first conference to start rooting for their rivals and in-conference rivals, so the conference looks better. 100%.
Vanderbilt going crazy. Yeah, SEC guy, like, what have you done, Vanderbilt? Not a damn thing.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's just a weird thing. We've always said it's a weird thing. I'm not from down here, so I don't even think it's really a cool thing. I'd be like, hey, if I grew up here, I'd be waving the SEC flag. Like, I don't get it. I never have gotten it. I don't understand it. And some people don't do it, but other people really do it. And I don't get the SEC over the ACC versus this, like why that matters. The AL East, I'm a Red Sox guy. The AL East winning doesn't make me happy.
Oh, no.
And nobody, it is
we ain't cheering for the Texans, are we now?
It is unlike anything else in sports. And okay, it is what it is. Some people can like it. I'm not going to sit here and just bury it. It's just different. It's a very unique thing in sports. I don't believe overall anybody roots for their conference when they're not in it or their division. It just does not happen. The only thing that people root for sometimes is when you lose. Like, does it make you feel better if you lost en route to a championship, but you got beat by the champion? And if that came from your same conference or whatever else, then you could be like, well, see, like we could have done it too if we had just got by this one, blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
Like that is a thought in sports sometimes, whether it's the NBA, NHL, whatever you got. But this one is just so unique. And I don't know if it's because we live down here and you're just in the thralls of it and you feel it. Social media has really elevated it, I think, because it's made those kind of back and forth, really into something, which is, again, I don't actually mind it. I'm an outside guy. I know I get like framed as an SEC and a Gator guy sometimes, which is hilarious to me. But it's a really odd thing. It's a really odd thing in sports. And if you're going to wave the flag, well, you got to also take the heat.
Correct.
Because this has just been an odd year. And I would just continue to go back to two things that I say about the SEC. This is for Greg Sankey. This is for Lane Kiffin. This is for everybody else. You have established yourself as the best conference year in, year out in football. And right now in college basketball, it looks like you might too. So that's cool. Like, that's good for the conference. But please don't sit there and complain then that you can't get everybody in because of it. You've set this up. You can't have it both ways. If you wanted the deepest conference in America, you got it. Year in, year out. The other thing is I would also say is this year wasn't it. Like, there's no such thing as a deep conference in America this year. They're all very average. And it's okay to admit that the SEC this year, maybe not the last 10 or 12, this year, pretty damn average. And we even know this from Hamby's team who won the conference. They could have lost like 4 other games this year. And even Hamby knows that they're not as good as they were the last couple of years. They were better last year when they didn't make the playoff, in my opinion.
We were.
So it's okay. Like, that's just what it is. It's not a criticism. Let's just call it what it is. And that's been my main talking point for the last couple of months is let's just call this college football season what it is. It's average, which makes it super entertaining and the perfect one to have a college football playoff because I still sit here with 5 teams remaining and don't know who's going. I do not know who I put money on to win.
Yeah.
I got Ohio State.
I know you got Ohio State. And really, that's easier to say coming off yesterday. But I could also see them beat in the next game.
Who they got, Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think I picked Notre Dame and Ohio State in the championship game, and you know what? I kind of feel good about it.
Yeah, you should.
You should. Real quick, though, the reason, I mean, we could talk ad nauseum about the history of the pride of the SEC and why we root for each other's teams and everything like that. Well, first of all, just from a geographical standpoint, none of the ACC teams, even though they're on the Atlantic coast, have anything really tying them together, right? None of the big 10 teams, Pennsylvania doesn't rock with Ohio as a collective of being in the North or whatever like this, and in the Pac-12, California and Oregon don't really, we're the West, like maybe just a little bit, but like the South has always been like, there's
I call it pride.
Sure, you can call it pride.
No, pride.
Well, I'm going to add to it. I'll help you out here.
Missouri and all those teams getting put in didn't really help us as far as, and this existed long before I existed. But you know, when at its core there was that, and then I think in recent years. And Brent, feel free to jump in, but in recent years, it's just been, well, we've won 13 out of the last 18 championships as a conference. 13 out of 18.
Yeah.
So it's like
pretty damn good.
Now we're fighting for spots when you have to, you want your, because everybody thinks that they're the second best team of the SEC. Every SEC fan is going to say that the second best team, the third best team is better than the conference winner of the ACC and the Big 12 because you're really fighting for 4 spots. Well, when you do that, you really have to fight for your conference because you want your conference to look as good as, so your losses look good.
Here's the thing. I think it's a dangerous deal at times because of years like this. I think we can't just assume because the SEC has been good for 12 years that it's good this year. I think that's a dangerous thing to do. They shouldn't get equity built. That's not fair to the rest of college football. And I honestly looked at this season and you looked at Vanderbilt beating Alabama and you looked at some of the things that were going on. You're like, listen, everybody's open to get beat. And we just saw it with Oregon in the Big Ten. You're open to get beat. It's just that kind of year. And so if the committee and the Herb Streets and the everybody else, if the group think becomes, well, the SEC is the best because it's always the best, not because it actually is the best, well, then you start getting treatment. You get beneficial treatment. About, if it's a 50-50 thing, I'm putting the SEC team in. That's what I loved about this year. I love the fact that Ole Miss didn't get in, and South Carolina didn't get in, Alabama didn't get in. And quite frankly, they didn't deserve to get in. And if you're bitching about the top 12 team, well, then you got no room. I mean, if you're the 12th or 13th team, you really don't have a leg to stand on. And I say this about Arizona State. Arizona State proved to me that they were underrated because they were in that same group. They were in the 15, 14, 13, most of it until the last poll where they ended up like 10, 11, 12. But if they didn't win, like they were just as deserving of maybe an at-large spot as Alabama. But nobody thought that. Why? Because, they had been 3-9 and they hadn't been good and Alabama had been Alabama.
Yeah.
But that's a bad way to think in a very subjective world.
Well, this is why, I enjoy being a Jaguars fan just because we do play in the best conference. You want to talk about the AFC, Brent? We're talking about the New England Patriots, and we talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, this truly is the best conference to play in, everybody. And, I get it didn't go our way this year, but take solace in the fact that, it could be another Chiefs or Ravens, something like that, but you got to love the AFC, Brent.
You got to love the
AFC.
AFC.
If you see the past 20 years of champions, usually it's from the AFC. Just means more than the AFC, I think.
Well, we'll see what. Listen,
doesn't it, Hamby, or what?
No, it doesn't.
That's what you're saying. Okay.
Well, crazy enough though. Let's call a spade here. There's a decent chance now. We got 5 teams going that it could be SEC versus SEC in the national championship. It could be Georgia and Texas with all this said.
throw a parade.
Yeah, and I know you would, but which I still think is a little goofy because of Texas, right?
No, yeah.
But I also think it's wild to me, right? Again, that if Georgia loses, all 4 conference champs are out. And what also is pretty interesting, if Texas gets beat, that means none of the newcomers of the league that actually kind of stole the show in their conferences, from Oregon to SMU to Texas, they all wouldn't make the top 4.
Yeah.
Which is also just 2 wild things the way the college football season went. But again, that's what the playoffs for, to settle some of this. That's why the playoff to me is important. Exactly what's going on. Forget about the complaining about the quality of games. It's about everything you thought was totally true about the year isn't necessarily working out that way from 3 weeks ago. That's the nature of playoffs. We think the Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know. And if it doesn't work out that way, we also wouldn't be that surprised because that's sports.
Yeah.
I'll
just say this. I'll be the biggest Texas fan of all time next week when they play Ohio State, because I do not want to play Ohio State in the championship if Georgia gets there.
Ohio State is one of the most unlikable teams if you don't like them. Right?
Correct.
It's not even just because I don't like them.
No, but a lot of people feel that way.
I think it's a little bit of the Ryan Day effect.
It's Urban Meyer.
But Ryan Day comes across, I feel like, as a little cocky sometimes.
You know what's really weird? We were talking about this last night at the house. Day, I think, from what I hear, is a nice guy. He does not come across that way, right?
When
he's awkward around a mic.
Running the score up against Indiana, too, and everything,
Yeah.
I can see if people don't like him.
Yeah.
Hey, we welcome into the new year and welcome our old friends at Nimnick Buick GMC. Get a new car in 2025. And if you're looking for it and you're shopping for it, whether it's new or used, Nimnick Buick GMC, the place to go. That's where we've gone ever since we moved to Jacksonville. Love the folks over at Nimnick Buick GMC. Nobody but Nimnick. Who will give you top dollar for your trade? Yeah, nobody but Nimnick. NimnickBuickGMC.com. Visit the showroom, Phillips Highway. Hey, get a truck like mine, the GMC Sierra. They've got some great specials now. Save $10,000 off select new GMC Sierras, or you can get that low interest rate, 0.0. Always love when that's back in play. Sophisticated, modern, elevated details. You can try the all-new redesigned Buick lineup as well at Nimnick Buick GMC. GMC, we are professional grade. Go visit my friends at Nimnick Buick GMC. We were talking about the Jags making the Pro Bowl a short time ago, and it brings me to the thought of where their roster is. Now, listen, I'm not going to go over the top about the punter and the long snapper making the Pro Bowl, but can you hang with me for a second?
I'll try.
Hamby, can you call up the roster on the Jags? I kind of know it. In fact, I got it right in front of me. Look out on the backside. Watch this. See this?
What's the...
see that right there?
Yeah.
That right there on the screen is an exercise.
Try again. Keep trying. There you go.
That's an exercise that I'll tell you what that is a little bit later.
Okay.
Okay?
Maybe tease. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, tomorrow?
I don't know. Maybe today.
Well, what do we...
But it was on the backside of the roster. That I did.
Oh, you have it.
So I have the roster. So here's where I'm going with this. I bring you back to, you went to the Kansas City Chiefs in 2013 from the Jacksonville Jaguars. And when you went to that team, they were coming off a 2-14 year. They got the number 1 pick. They had 6 Pro Bowlers. We've talked about this in the past.
Yeah,
and
some studs in that team. I
know everybody hates the Jags right now and hates the roster and hates Balky and the front office and the coaching staff and the owner and everybody else. Like, they just are mad at the world when it comes to the Jags.
Correct.
Understood. Mm-hmm. But I also believe, and I've said this quietly, probably not in front of the microphone, I believe specifically if the Jaguars get a new head coach, a new regime in, they will get there's usually an energy from that. There's usually a bump from that. And I think they're going to have a very good 2025 if they do get that, because I think they have good enough players to perform better than they did. And I think the energy and everything else of a new regime adds to that. And I'll give you examples. If I give you 2017, the Jags we thought had a more talented team than a 3-13 win season in 2016.
Sure.
They had this bubbling talent. They brought Tom Coughlin in and Doug Marrone in. They go to 2017 and look, it all clicks, right? They get that bump. Now, they couldn't sustain it. That's a different part of the story, but they get the bump. You go to 2022, where it's like, Urban, what the heck? You're starting to accumulate this talent, the number one picks, everything else. Doug comes in and, well, they didn't do it right away, and they weren't 13-4, but look what they did. They go to the playoffs. So there are two recent examples of when you get a new head coach in and you have an semblance of some kind of talent, you can have your better seasons in Jacksonville.
Okay.
So I think 2025 is going to offer that. And I think looking at that 2013 team, I'm not telling you that they're about to go on a 10-year run, but if they get the right guy, maybe they can do a little bit more because their roster has guys that have been to the Pro Bowl on it.
Okay.
It's not just this year. It's Logan. It's Ross. Okay, that's one thing. It's Brian Thomas Jr., who should go.
Sure.
It's Trayvon. It's Josh Hines-Allen, who's been.
Of course.
It's Foye Oluokun, who's been. It's Evan Ingram, who's been. Trevor Lawrence actually has been. Brendan Sheriff, I don't think he's going to be a part of this going forward. He also is decorated.
Well, and are we for sure that Foye is going to be a part of it?
Contractually, he would be.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
I think it's hard. Their whole defense, and I'll give credit to Mike DeRocco. Yesterday, we were talking about this in the media room. Their whole defense, guys, is under contract for 2025.
Run it back.
With the exception of Cisco. What did he tell me? Caleb Johnson, who's really a special teamer. And there's one other guy. I can't remember now.
Okay.
But I don't.
Run it back.
Well,
does that almost virtually guarantee you that they're going to move on from Cisco just because you have to have new faces in there?
Well, they're going to move on from Cisco. But I just think there's two options with this group. And by the way, the offense is all coming back, too, for the most part. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of flexibility there either. So my point is this roster, although it's not as good as we thought it was and the best one ever and all this, because performance will tell you that, it's also not the worst roster ever, and it's something to work with for an incoming coach. And I think there's something to be said about that if the right guy is in here that can help you at least get the immediate jump, I think the question will be, can they sustain it? Because that's obviously something that just hasn't been able to be done since Tom Coughlin in terms of sustaining. But I think there's an example when you have a roster that, seriously, there's Pro Bowl talent on this roster. And maybe more that we just don't know about in some of the young guys. But we know that these guys have actually got the nod. They have been amongst the best. So how can you get the best out of those guys? And can they all perform at the same time? And obviously you got to stay healthy and all the other things that go along with it. Win close games would be a good example of that. But when you look at the roster next year, there's really two things. One, you don't have a lot of flexibility. We did this the other day. You're not going to have a lot of different areas where you're not going to spend a lot in free agency is the point. Because you really don't have it. You've got it tied up. Or you're going to be willing to have the most dead money you've ever had. And this was a conversation we had in the media room yesterday. And in 2020, I think it was, they had $52 million in dead money. That was the most in franchise history. I don't even know why that was. Like in 20, I don't know who was the dead money stuff. Like, was that after the trade of Jalen Ramsey? Were they still dealing with some of that? Like, I don't even know. But I would think if a new regime comes in here and they don't want to keep this roster, the Jags are going to have a lot of dead money on their plate. Like Eric Armstead, do you get rid of him? Christian Kirk, what happens with him? Evan Ingram, what happens with him? What happens with some of these guys that are under contract? The contracts have been pushed out to the point where now you'll have dead money. Are they willing to do that, or are they kind of running this back? Because right now, contractually, Austin, they're kind of tied into running it back.
Yeah, but you can't be. I mean, unless we want to, once again, let's go and make another defensive coordinator a scapegoat and just say it was all his fault. Guys weren't getting aligned properly. Guys weren't practicing alignments. I don't think that's the case. Like, you can't have the same song and dance 2 years in a row and say it was the defensive coordinator's fault. That's why they didn't produce. Like, maybe it's a combination of maybe coaching, but also what you have on the field. So, yeah, I think you're going to have to at least eat some of that dead money. Now, you're going to keep some people just because I think out of principle. I mean, you can't turn over a whole roster in 1 year. But you got to you have to cut some people. You're going to have to. And you're going to have to say, hey, this was a bad investment on my part, is what it is, and now we move.
Yeah, that's going to be a very interesting process. First of all, it's got to be a philosophical process of what are we willing to eat and what are we willing to admit, and then who is it? Because you're right, you're not going to do that to everybody. Who can help you? If I said, right now, a lot of people would be like, well, Eric Armstead, he shouldn't be back, right? I'd eat that money. Well, what if I said, okay, Eric Armstead's coming back, but he's going to play the interior? Would you be then okay? Right? Would you be okay?
I'd like to see it. Like, let's see what it looks like.
I know, but I think people is if you do that, if you get less stubborn about it and you do that, then I think you can be like, okay, that makes sense. Otherwise, like that's just an example.
No, but it's a big one because it's a lot of money.
But like Gabe Davis right now, I don't think there's a lot of confidence he's going to help you out. But he's going to be dead money if you cut him. Now, is he also going to go to another team where he's going to be like, whoa, I can't believe we let Gabe Davis go? Well, maybe. I mean, if he ends up on the Chiefs, he might have a pretty good year. So you have to weigh those things. That's the point. Because you certainly don't want to have dead money and then have a guy that's going to go perform somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's the double whammy bad. Like, those are the kind of decisions. And now this isn't the bed that maybe the new regime, if they get one, has made. But it might be the bed that they have to live in for this year, which I know the Jags have an attractive job. They do for a variety of reasons. But it might be a little bit of a con for this job. Is saying, okay, but you're kind of stuck with this roster for now.
See, like, I hear what you're saying, Brent, but I think if a new regime comes in, I don't think you're going to say that. I think they're going to tear it down from the studs.
Do you really think that?
I do.
Oh, wow, I don't.
Okay.
No, that's okay that you think that.
Yeah.
I think right. I just don't.
I don't. Listen, man. I haven't been in, like, okay, you know this better than I do. I'm not in that locker room. Like, I watch the games and I know what kind of players they are on the field. Now, I'm not sure what type of dudes you have in that locker room. But, like, when you want to compare them to the Chiefs, like, you could turn on film and watch Eric Berry and go, yeah, this guy's a stud.
Absolutely.
You could turn on film and watch Derek Johnson and go, yeah, this guy is like the leader of the defense. You could turn on tape and go, Tamba Ali, Justin Houston, Jamal Charles. Yeah, these guys are absolute studs. You know, when you turn on the film with these guys, like, yeah, Evan Ingram, when he's in there, he's great, right? Tyson Campbell, you hope can be a guy one day, but, like, you're not. We've done this exercise before. Like, how many pillars do you truly have on this team right now? You have Josh Hines-Allen, you have Trayvon Walker, you have Trevor Lawrence, but, like, I think he's got to elevate more, right? I think anybody would tell me that.
You have no choice there.
You have no choice. You have Brian Thomas Jr. What else? I mean, and Foye Lukin? Yeah, we can say that. But once again, I'm not sure if Foye will. I don't know, Brent.
Yeah, no, I think Foye is a guy that you could say I could move on from. And I like Foye a lot.
Yeah.
But I think his contract says you probably won't.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to, again, eat the dead money. And I don't have all the dead money in front of me. But you've got to be, again, that's a philosophical thing first. Whoever comes in here and, like, you're interviewing, if you're Ben Johnson, you're interviewing like, hey, Shad, just to let you know, like, I know we don't like to have dead money, and that's not going to be a thing. But the way this roster's been built, we're stuck with some of these guys, and we really don't think these guys are a part of it. So you got to be willing to do that. Are you willing to do that? Okay, yeah, we're willing to do that. All right, we're going to have a lot of dead money. That's it. That's the conversation. You just got to be willing to do that. But teams don't like that. Teams do not like having dead money. And so those are some tough choices, which, by the way, is another reason why I thought that Jags should not have signed Walker Little when they did, and I'm a Walker Little fan. But you shouldn't have this regime making those choices if you think you're going to flip regimes, potentially.
No, without a doubt. I guess, Brent, try to look at it like this. If you put Dan Campbell on this team, how many wins do they have?
Well, I've said this a lot. I said McVay or Campbell this year.
Do you think they elevate him to 4 or 5 more wins?
Absolutely.
You think so?
Oh, okay. Yeah, this year I do think.
Then it's not a talent problem on this team. Yeah, then it's a coaching.
Well, listen, I think I've said this a lot. I've said that I always say this, and I believe this, and I'll say it in conversations. And I think two things can be true here. I think Doug Peterson is a good coach in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I think he knows how to win games. There are some people that say, "Oh, you're totally wrong." Blah blah blah. No, the guy's got a Super Bowl trophy, and I saw what he did in 2022. He elevated the group. I think the sustainability, the other things, there's certainly holes in his game as a coach. What I would say is whatever he tried to push this year just hasn't worked. And really for the last year and a half, and when they were in chase mode, he hasn't been very good. But So that's why it's gone wrong. I don't know why. I just don't. I know that the results show me that he couldn't figure it out. And so I also believe it's time for a reset in this organization for a variety of reasons we've talked about over the years. But I do think because a guy like Campbell seems to be pushing the right buttons. A guy like McVay seems to push the right buttons, and we haven't seen these droughts where he hasn't.
No,
and I think if you did put this roster with those guys, and they stayed healthy, now injuries have to do a little something here, but they stay healthy, I think absolutely this team is going into Week 17 at least in playoff contention.
I got you. I mean, and you might be right, but also I see, Campbell, listen, I've sang his praises many times on this show. Like, I love Dan Campbell. But he also has some damn good players that he coaches.
He does.
Like, he's got a damn good offensive line. He's got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's one of the, probably the most underrated, but one of the best wide receivers in the league. He's got a quarterback right now that statistically is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's got some of the best running backs in the game. Like, I don't know if he comes here, like, are you confident with ETN and Tank Bigsby? Are you confident with the offensive line?
Well, let me just go with that offensive side.
Sure.
This is what I think. I don't know. This is all hypothetical stuff, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I think because of the mentality and identity, I think they get more out of this offensive line. Okay. I think because I've seen them do this now for 3 years, balance the rotation of backs the way they have. I think they would do it better I think the Jags got lost in how they wanted to use ETN and Bigsby. And I said, I think that's a very tricky thing, but I've seen Detroit be able to do it. Mm-hmm. I see them get the best out of Jared Goff. Hats off to him. Mm-hmm. But I think they could get the best out of a guy like Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. I think this is a receiving core that if you plopped it in Detroit, I think would do pretty well. So, yeah, I think the ingredients are not. Listen, you can give the edge because of performance. You have to Detroit in a lot of those areas. But my point is, could you easily flip that with this roster? I think it's a very comparable thing on the offensive side, at least, to say, I think identity and whatever they're doing to get the best out of those guys, from play calling to coaching to practicing to whatever that looks like, I think would be, I think they would.
See, because this is where I'm going with it. Like, is it more of a coaching problem, or is it the roster construction where we thought that these players were going to be great and we thought that you had the roster to propel you to maybe a playoff run, and now we see it, maybe we don't?
It's $1 million question, Austin. It's a question I get asked everywhere I go, and probably you do too. Whose fault is it, right? And it's going to be one that I'll put a poll question out there later, probably today, because we're going to do it on Countdown to Kickoff in the final game coming up on TV at 11:30 on CBS 47, live from Indianapolis on Sunday. And the answer is easily both. Like, that's why everybody will answer. It'll be answered both. But I do think it's both because of this. I think the roster construction, I'm not going to talk out of both sides of my mouth. I like the roster construction. I thought they were coming into this year. I saw what they were trying to do. I thought they had a pretty damn good team. And I know for a fact they have a better than 4-win team. I know for a fact. Now, is it as good as we thought? Maybe not. But how they used them, how they coached them, the buttons they pushed, the scheme that they're running, all those things have also been off. Mm-hmm. And so you didn't get the best out of them. There's no doubt in my mind they did not get the best out of this group. And that's on Doug, and that's on the coaching staff. I also think they've missed in some areas constructing this team, obviously, in spots, because it's definitely can't be as good as we thought, and they thought it was. But I also think the front office part of this, the bulky part of this, there's more to it than just that. There's more to the feel of the building. There's more to the identity of it. There's all these other things. Same with Doug. All these things that I've said about the relationship part, they talk to the fans part, the how you are on a podium part. Like, there are things that outweigh simple wins, losses versus roster construction that these guys, the intangibles, they've really not done a great job with. Mm. And I think that's led to some of the results. I think when you say those same things, we think Dan Campbell, we think McVay, we think those instances, they're really good at that part. They've been really good at that part. We know who they are. We feel like they're getting the most out of those teams, all those different things. So that's what gives me a little bit of confidence in saying, if you took this roster and put it in Detroit, if you put this roster in LA, I really feel like, for whatever reason this time around, they would have got better than Doug and the staff got out of it. Now, in 2022, I thought Doug did a hell of a job with the roster. I don't know why that's changed. I don't know. But all I know is he's been here 3 years, and for a year and a half it was really good, and he got the most out of it, or at least a good amount out of it. And for a year and a half, he's really hasn't got crap out of it.
Yeah.
Like, it's really been bad. He's disappointed. He should have more wins in the last, what are we at now? 22 games than 5. They're 5-17 over the last 22 games. And the only teams they've beaten are not good teams. Carolina, Indianapolis, New England, Tennessee. I can't explain. I don't know why that is. Okay. I also don't feel like, they might have got bad bounces in the last part of this run. They got good bounces in the first part of the run a little bit, right? When they were down double digits against the Raiders and the Cowboys and other games like that. But this isn't a luck thing only. You can't just put it on luck and injuries and stuff. They should have gotten more out of this than they did. The answer is both. And that's why there should be a reset.
Yes.
To try to figure it out. But my overall point is 2 things. One, this is kind of the roster. And now you can make some changes, but it's kind of the roster, whoever comes in here. And I really believe that whoever does come in here, if that is the case, is going to get an instant bump, just like Doug did, just like Marrone and Coughlin did. The question will be that I would have if I'm Shad Khan is, once I get that bump, can I sustain it? And that's the guy you're looking for. Haven't been able to find that for whatever reason. Speaking of Shad Khan and others, Jeremy Fowler said something interesting in an article this morning.
Okay, I heard it.
So I'll share that with you, and I want to see if you think. I think guys are really throwing stuff at the wall right now when it comes to Shad, because everybody wants information and nobody knows the information. That's how I believe. I'll tell you what he had to say. You can find out or think about if it's correct or not. Plus, New Year's means a resolution, or do you play the word game? We'll do one of those things, and then we can play it back in like late December of 2025 if we're still a thing. Because you never know. If we
That's a resolution. Just make it.
Just make it.
It's a resolution.
We'll be back on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. If you need a quality play this football season at your home, call That One Painter First Coast. Locally owned and operated, experienced employees, no builder-grade materials. And there's more, and for that, we throw it to Noah Schlicksup. That One Painter First Coast can apparently help your kicking game, too.
Well, after my failure on skinny sticks last year on Creekside game day, I've spent a lot of time out here at Creekside practicing my kicks. There's only one issue. How is that even possible? The good news is I know exactly who can help. That One Painter can handle all your painting needs, from field goal posts to cabinets to stucco. They got you covered. Though they may not be able to help with my kicking, they can certainly help with the posts. Call That One Painter First Coast today for all your painting needs at 904-495-1373.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jax 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Burgers or breakfast, you can get it all at Whataburger. Try something new on the menu or an all-time favorite like the Whataburger Patty Melt. And now you can have breakfast here at Whataburger 12 hours a day, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. Menu items like the bacon taquito, sausage taquito, honey butter chicken biscuit. Whether you work the late night shift, just want a snack early in the morning to get your day started, or a little pick-me-up late in the morning, 12 hours a day, breakfast served, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. A dozen locations in Jacksonville. You can order pickup or delivery and download the Whataburger app. New rewards members get free Whataburger items when placing their first online order. Just download the app. And for us coffee drinkers, Whataburger has all new hot coffee and iced coffee too. Satisfy that coffee craving at Whataburger 24/7, and it comes in a variety of flavors. Burgers, breakfast, coffee, and so much more. Whataburger, just like you like it.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jags Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Four of the 6 Pro Bowl halfbacks are guys their previous team decided not to pay. After 23, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, all playoff bound. The Bengals will likely join the Titans, Giants, Raiders, and watching them interchangeable. Mike Silver says, now let's keep that up for a second. Here's what I would say, okay? I can't criticize too much the Tennessee move on Henry. You've got to make a move at some point. You're going to either decide to keep and how long you're going to keep, or you let him go to join a team like Baltimore where we can have a good couple years and have a chance to win it all because you're resetting.
So you think it was more of like the longevity where you had him for a long time and like how much longer can you hang on to him?
And a little bit of like the Calais Campbell thing here where it's like, okay, do you want to, you've been great to our organization. Do you want to go play for it? Because we're going to rebuild it a little bit, right? So there's a little bit of that. We're not going to compete like Baltimore. And I would say this.
It's hard to
Silver, like he's right here, but Pollard has over 1,000 yards. He doesn't have 1,600 of them.
To be fair, it is hard to build around a running back. Like Tennessee spent a lot of years trying to do that with Derrick, and they had some success. Went to some playoff games, but like couldn't get over the hump.
Yeah, and so the other guys on there, Joe Mixon, who left Cincinnati. Well, Cincinnati's offense has actually been fine without him. Now, Mixon had a great year here with Houston. Saquon Barkley, that's a different story. But even if Saquon Barkley, here's what we know about Barkley. And this is where I know we're nitpicking here, and I get what Silver's going after, and he's not wrong. But Barkley would never have 2,000 yards in New York this year.
No.
He'd have to do it all by himself.
Are you surprised that he's sitting out?
It's an interesting deal. I appreciate it. I'm not surprised because of, remember that mic'd up thing where he said he could go back
who he
in the
is?
game?
Yeah,
It seems like he's a very, now I have no idea who Saquon Barkley is, but it feels like he's a very humble, regular guy as much as you can get in the stardom that he has. And if that is true, I respect that, and I'm not surprised by that because I think everything he said, he said it. He was like, I slept on it Sunday night. I was like, going to bed. I was like, I'm not going to play. I don't need to play. And then I woke up. I was like, well, it wouldn't be bad to get the record. He was very honest in terms of his thought process. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I'm putting it in the hands of the coaches, and I respect it either way. So
do you think the New York Giants are just like,
yes,
Thank God.
From a PR standpoint. Now, they're going to get 500 shots of him on that game on the sideline.
Of course.
But it's better than watching him run for 150.
I mean, that Hard Knocks video is once again recirculating now because, that was script writing at its finest.
Unbelievable.
Like Saquon breaking the record against the old team that let him go because they believed in Daniel Jones. And it's wild how it all could have worked out. And I would have loved to see him go for it. But at the same time, I respect the guy who says, yeah, I'd rather just wait to the playoffs because that's the most important thing.
Well, and the one thing I appreciate a little bit right now about some of those old records, and was Dickerson the one that did it in 14 games? No, that was OJ. Oh, didn't OJ Simpson do it in like 14 games?
I think it was.
But I think Dickerson did it in 16. This is a 17th game. So I almost wonder if that makes it easier from a Barkley and everybody else performs like, well, it would have had an asterisk anyway. It's a 17th game. Like I didn't do it in 16 games. Now, the record's a record. I understand that. But you get my point there. It's just like, does it feel different when you're setting a mark because you're getting the extra game?
I mean, it definitely does, but it's definitely a different game though too, Brent, where it's usually more pass first than it is run first.
Yeah, that's
right.
Fair.
So, I mean, it kind of go both ways. But I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't
extra game to do it.
Yeah. Anyway, the running back thing, that's a good topic, but I don't know if it's like those other teams are sitting at home, but they would have been sitting at home with those guys.
True.
Well, maybe not the Bengals. Could the Bengals have incorporated a little bit more? Did they? But it's their defense that cost them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only argument you would have, okay, so the Raiders wouldn't have gone anywhere with Josh Jacobs.
No.
The Giants are still going to be the Giants. I mean, maybe with the Bengals, you can say, okay, we're going to slow the game down a little bit, run the ball, help your defense out a little more, but.
Yeah, I don't think so. I would say one of your best examples of, again, kind of working against this tweet a little bit, is the offense makes the back in so many ways too, because look at James Cook. I mean, Cook is, and no disrespect to him, but nobody saw him doing this. How much of that is a product of Josh Allen and that, he's in a good spot. So.
Well, Brent, just take Chase Brown for the Bengals. Nobody knows who that is. He's plug and play, and he's been unbelievable.
Well, there you go.
Look at the third string running back in San Francisco, it seemed like, for a while.
Yeah, fourth, I think.
How about the fact that Kareem Hunt can still come off the off the couch and be, and credit to him because he stays in shape and he does all the things. But, bro, to come back as many times as he can and been literally plug and play right in, just because the offense is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's some teams where I feel like you can just put anybody back there and they're going to have success.
Yeah. I don't want to. That's how we diminish the spot of the running back a little bit by just saying anybody can do it.
That's how Saquon Barkley went to the Eagles. All right, let's everybody be cool now.
So I don't know if you should do that.
Be cool.
But there are. Listen, we do have quarterbacks now running for as many yards almost as like the 10th.
Oh, now you're not helping bringing up quarterbacks, Brett.
It's just a product of it's a product of who you are. Listen, nobody even if Tank Bigsby had 1,000 yards, that's a very nice year. But Tank Bigsby hasn't impacted the Jags enough to even have 1,000 yards. But if you gave him 50 more carries, he would have had 1,000 yards.
Yeah,
is it a coincidence that this is the first time in a couple of years that the Steelers have been able to throw the football, and all of a sudden Najee Harris has his best year ever, and nobody hates him anymore?
Yeah.
Did Najee Harris all of a sudden get that much better?
Oh no, people were grilling Najee Harris because you give him the ball 30 times a game and he averaged 2.8.
He's been great so far this year.
No, yes.
Hey, I want to remind you as we head into 2025, Action Sports Jacks and our network here and the Brent Austen Show have a partnership with JacksPal. You can go to jackspal.org, check them out, all the different things that they do here in the area. Austin knows it really well, from boxing to other sports and after-school events. You can be a part of it. Make a donation if you have a chance, or see how you can get your own kids involved with JacksPal. Of course, the Jacksonville Police Athletic League, jackspal.org. There's an article out with Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, and a lot of this seems to be predicated on how many jobs openings are going to be, what's the latest, and I feel for these guys sometimes because they've got to say something.
Oh, is this one of those where we have to go to war again?
No.
Are we getting ready to go to war?
No, I don't think it's a war thing.
Okay, let me go ahead and
let me
relax
read
again.
you the excerpt that people are talking about.
Move the camera, Hamby.
So this is what Fowler says. He says, I'm going to go under your total and say 7. That's about the number of jobs that are available in the NFL. The 3 existing open jobs plus 4 more. How it gets there is a labyrinth, he says. Most people I've talked to expect the Raiders and Jaguars jobs to turn over, which gets us to 5. Members of both staffs feel uncertainty, though Pierce is trying to make this interesting with back-to-back wins in Vegas. And the silence is deafening in Jacksonville. Owner Shad Khan hasn't tipped his hand and wasn't in the locker room post-game Sunday, which is not the norm after a win. But some people there believe Coach Doug Peterson is projecting confidence. So we'll see. So again, what happens with these guys, we just got to know what it is they've got to kind of say something. But there are a couple of, there's an interesting nugget that's been floating around a little bit anyway, that Shad either hasn't been there or hasn't been in that post-game locker room. So what we know is Shad usually, wins or losses, will come down to the locker room, watch the post-game address, maybe have a few conversations with Doug Peterson, Trent Baalke. That's been the thing. He's at about every game, I mean, that I've ever witnessed and seen. I'll give you a specific instance that I was very curious about. The Detroit game this year, 52-6. We know everybody's mad. We're kind of wondering, okay, is this it? Like, could this be it? And so I actually went down early, and I'm just wondering if even Shad is going in there, because I'm starting to put some tea leaves together, if not, right? And Shad was there. He was waiting, and he actually got in that room before anybody else was in the room, which also is pretty normal. And he did, and then he had a short meeting, and then he left. And there wasn't really that much to report on or say. I'm just giving you an example of that's how it happens.
Sure.
And that was one where we thought maybe something would transpire.
No, even back when I played and we won 2 games that year, like he was, after every single loss, he was in there like, I don't want to say he was greeting us or anything, but he was just kind of like, seeing the vibe. Observing.
Right?
There you go.
He does a lot of that. And so, I mean, I don't think he's missed a game prior to this year that I remember. There are some reports that he wasn't at the Vegas game. I shouldn't say there's some reports. There's some thought that he wasn't at the Vegas game. I didn't see him. That doesn't mean he wasn't there. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. That he wasn't apparently in the locker room. Now, a lot of folks are saying that word's starting to come out this past week. That doesn't mean he wasn't at the game, but I didn't see him again. Like, I don't see him after every game. There are a lot of times I'll see him entering the stadium.
Okay.
And then there's other times I'll see him leaving the stadium. That's about the only time I see him. Sometimes the cameras will catch him at a game and everything else.
Yep.
So I'm
stalking. Okay.
Well, no, we're just
kidding.
in the same
I'm
spot.
Joking. I'm joking.
But I don't know if he was there the last 2 weeks. I'm just being honest. I have no idea if he was or wasn't there. The reports, though, and the rumors and the word starting to spread out that he wasn't in the locker room to me the other day, which, by the way, you would notice because of the media hangs out right outside the locker room as they're waiting to go in. Now, I went to Doug, so I wasn't actually just waiting outside the locker room, but I think that's where this is coming from. When the doors open up, you don't see Shad walk out. You usually do.
Okay.
And so if he wasn't there, does that say something?
I was just going to ask you, like, what does that say?
To me, it says a lot.
So what does it say?
Well, it says that he's done with thing guys.
Okay.
Because I would just think if I'm going to dismiss you or Hamby or whatever, I don't really want to. I don't really want to be around you. Well, because I don't want to.
Brent.
I don't want to hide it.
You don't want me to come back and say goodbye to everybody a week after I left the show?
Well, I don't want to pretend.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
I got you.
So if I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That's a tough spot to be in. It's like, oh, well, how are we going to fix this? And what are we doing forward? And you start, like, really, these games don't really matter. So you're talking about the future. Well, there's nothing to be talking about in the future if you think you're going to get rid of the guys. So, again, if this – now, there are some people that believe that was the case in Vegas, too. I can't confirm. I don't know that he wasn't in there or even at the game. It would surprise me if he wasn't at the game because, again, he doesn't miss. Yeah. He may have missed one game in his tenure that I think I heard that he missed, but I'm still not even sure about that one. So if he's staying away, if there's less conversation, I think that leans to him saying, see you later. But again, that's all projection and conjecture and all those kind of things out here right now. But that was a report from Fowler that he wasn't in the locker room after the game. But then the other side of that report is, well, Doug's exuding confidence.
Yeah.
Of what? Like what? I don't really know what that means. Like because they're still playing hard, or is he telling people in the building, I feel pretty good about keeping my job?
Yeah, that's a pretty vague statement right there.
And I've been on the record multiple times. I've done this on live shows like for the last few weeks saying, if you brought Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke on the show right now and said, are you coming back next year? They'd both say no. Because they know the way the league works.
Yeah.
Like I would think they would bet that they wouldn't be back. right? Not that they've been told they wouldn't be back, just that, okay, if you had to guess, be honest. Yeah, well, I don't think we're going to be back, right? Yeah. So that would be a weird confidence to exude if you're Doug this time of year. A guy who really knows how the NFL works. And he's been pretty honest at the podium about that when asked, like, well, listen, we get how the league works. We put ourselves in this situation. So anyway, it's just a couple of nuggets coming out. And I'm just going to tell everybody this one more time. You don't know, and nobody knows. It's one of the most unbelievable things I think I've witnessed is how tight to the vest Shad keeps it. In this day and age, to keep things this quiet is very impressive to his PR folks and to him and to the circle and everything else. Nobody knows, and if they think they know, I think you're kidding yourself. Yeah. I think you're kidding yourself if you really know what Shad's going to do. There are 4 options. He can clean house. He can keep them both. He can keep one, or he can keep the other. That's it. There are 4 things. There are 4 scenarios. We know that, but that's all we know.
Let me ask you this, Brent. When do you think Shad Khan made the decision?
Oof, good question. That's a good question. I think after the Houston game.
Okay.
Now, listen, I think it was leaning a certain way after the Detroit game.
Yeah.
But when you don't make a move there, I think I've thought about this too. I was like, man, Brent, I think I was even thinking about this morning when I couldn't sleep.
Dude's obsessed. Dude's got to get some sleep.
I think I was like, when was the last, why did I still feel like this team was going to roll off 4 or 5 wins down the stretch? And I got to be honest with you, I did feel that way even after the bye week. I thought they had a chance to beat Houston at home.
I did too.
And then I thought I thought the way the schedule lined up, if they beat Houston at home, they were going to go on a run of 4 to 5 wins. Now, I didn't think they were going to go win 6 because it's not the way the NFL works. Like, you don't really win 6 usually, and they weren't good enough to win 6. But I thought they might win 5. I really did, based on they've played nobody. They did beat the Titans twice. They should have beaten the Raiders, and they really should have beaten the Jets. They had the lead. So if they beat Houston, do they end up beating the Jets? This is kind of the Miami question, right? If they beat Miami, could they beat Cleveland?
Yep.
But seriously, I thought that was still in play. I'm going to be honest. Now, many of you might not. Many of you don't want to admit it. But I thought that was still in play. And that's why I thought he didn't make the move at the time, because he's going to give them one last chance to be like, all right, you got a chance to save this, but you got no wiggle room left.
Sure.
And when they lost to Houston, I was like, okay, well, that's it. You have not beat a quality. It doesn't count anymore. This is what I would have said if Shad. It doesn't count to beat Tennessee. It doesn't count if you beat the Raiders. It doesn't count if you beat the Jets. It doesn't count if you beat Tennessee again, because those teams all stink.
Yeah.
Like, you got to beat somebody of quality.
Give me something you can use going into next season.
Give me something you can hang your hat on. Again, if you go back and listen to the show, we had these exact conversations. Yeah. But I really thought up until that Houston game and that loss, I was like, okay, that's it. So now I'm starting to claim like he's thinking like I am. So, but I'm going, which I know he doesn't, but I'm going to try to think like he would and say, okay, I gave him that chance. I gave him a chance to rescue it. They didn't
do it.
I cannot even give any credence to the last 5 weeks if they win a game here. This thing is over.
Not even with the locker room or anything. Like, the locker room's coming together a little. Yeah. I mean, no,
it doesn't carry weight to me.
Yep, I hear you.
I tip my hat to that. I say, nice job. I can do that. But that's not enough.
I'm with you. Yeah.
And for all the reasons, I don't know when I wrote the article. I think it was right around the Detroit game.
Still out there, Brent? Can we check it out still?
It's still in action. I don't know about the severed head part.
Never mind.
That thing is probably flushed out of the system. That was right during the bye week. But again, you got to understand now.
November 18th.
So there are bigger problems. Like, it's not just wins and losses. If you go back to my article, what we've talked about so many times, there are bigger things here that got us to the point the Jags are in. But I would have given them one more lifeline with that Houston game and say, hey, you know what? We can figure out the other stuff if you guys run the table and give us a shot down the stretch. Because quite frankly, if the Jags had done that and they were 5, would they have they won since? They've just beaten Tennessee? Yeah, so if they beat, let's just say they beat Houston and the Raiders.
Okay.
Let's say they lost to the Jets. So they'd have 2 more wins right now. They'd be 6-10. 6-10, with a chance to go to 7.
Yep.
I think this game would be very meaningful for this group.
Me too.
If they had because I had said that at the time, I think they got to get to 7.
Look, because you can.
And if they get to 7, I thought they were back. If they got to 6, I was like, ooh, that's tricky. But if they get to 7, they were back. If they got to 8, they were definitely back.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as you get to 7 and 10, and then you can just make the argument, well, we didn't have Trevor for half the season, really.
Well, at the time, you didn't know Trevor was going to miss either. And if you were still kind of in that kind of mix, you wonder if Ingram and Trevor would have waited.
Yep.
Right. And then your other thing is we lost to Green Bay by 3. We lost to the Vikings by 5, and we lost to the Eagles by 5. One score against 3 of the top teams in the NFC.
Yes.
And we had to play them back to back to back, and 2 of those were on the road. Obviously, there's no consolidation for the Lions, but they're
Lions.
In NFL speak, you can get your way to Trevor Lawrence, Evan Ingram, that tough stretch. We win a couple of those. We're 10-7 football team.
No, I think you're right. All right, I'm going to give you what's on my sheet of paper when we come back. All right, this kind of falls into this category. Why did I make this? And it's not rocket science. But actually, I made it, and then I was talking about it with someone yesterday, and I was like, ooh, there's another element to this that I didn't even catch.
Okay.
So I'll share it all with you, a little silhouette exercise.
Hamby, who's the better promoter, Brent with his article or Jake Paul?
Well, Jake Paul has a lot of money.
I don't know, man. Brent might be getting a Pulitzer or something.
Can you go put that article in the chat so everybody can read it again?
What do you get if you do you nominate yourself for something like a? What do you win?
Article?
Yeah, seriously.
I don't know.
What do you win with that? Is that Pulitzers?
Listen, I just
Nobel Peace.
Action News Jacks gets some hits, clicks.
Okay, there we go. Even better.
Did you see the guy that said that you're just like we got a lot of run the other day on the show when we were talking about what if Peterson, thinking of all the scenarios.
Yes.
About Peterson coming back in the hypothetical.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what if you change GM?
What did the people say? I bet they loved it.
Oh, my. So some were, actually, I should have held, and I could still do some of the responses because it's an interesting deal. Some people are like, okay. And other people are like, swearing at me.
Okay, good,
right?
good. They're still out there.
But then this one guy's like, one guy's like, oh, man, Brent, it's just clickbait. Right, and I was like, so I thought I actually had a pretty good response here. I was like, hey, if I wanted clickbait, I would have said they should elevate Press Taylor to the head coach.
Now we're talking, dude. Oh, you would have been on
clickbait.
You would have been ESPN. You would have been the big show for that one.
We don't do anything for clickbait. I don't think, at least not intentionally. It's not calculated. Well, you can go click on this article, actionnewsjacks.com. Go check it out. The Jags should be like Detroit. We'll be back.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC, we are professional grade. If you need a quality play this football season at your home, call That One Painter First Coast. Locally owned and operated, experienced employees, no builder-grade materials. And there's more, and for that, we throw it to Noah Schlicksup. That One Painter First Coast can apparently help your kicking game, too.
Well, after my failure on skinny sticks last year on Creekside game day, I've spent a lot of time out here at Creekside practicing my kicks. There's only one issue. How is that even possible? The good news is I know exactly who can help. That One Painter can handle all your painting needs, from field goal posts to cabinets to stucco. They got you covered. Though they may not be able to help with my kicking, they can certainly help with the posts. Call That One Painter First Coast today for all your painting needs at 904-495-1373.
Everyone loves a good game night. Here you don't have to be the host. You don't have to clean up. They bring the food and drinks to you, and you can watch whatever you want on the big screens. It's more than a card room. It's a night full of fun with friends. Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and now the newest location here in St. Augustine, right off 95 at exit 311. A brand new clean room, a full bar and menu, my favorite sushi in town. And I love the fries too. You don't have to just play poker at Best Bet. That's why I come over here to the table games and play one card poker. That's a pretty good card and a win. One card poker is like war as a kid, you against the dealer. And this isn't the only fun table game to play. A friendly staff, a lot of fun. It's a good night out at Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and the newest location in St. Augustine. You can be a serious player or a novice. It doesn't matter. If winning equals fun, you're a winner every time at Best Bet. I'll save you a seat, and I'll see you down here at Best Bet St. Augustine.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
How about that light?
That's not going to work. Did that work like in your test? Like you tested this in the commercial. It was like, is that what it looked like?
Hey, can we get some white balance in here, guys? Or
White balance? That's like poltergeist. Like, who is in here?
This segment
That's the ghost of Bob Longo. He's retired.
Ghost of Bob Longo.
Okay. That actually does look like a Pac-Man ghost a little bit.
Do you have it? Is there a gym or not? Like, has a new gym come in?
Oh, yeah, Omesh
Okay.
is the guy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay.
So we're happy about that.
Yeah, so that they kind of like promoted within.
Yes, they did.
Is that common?
I don't. In that position, I'm not sure.
Okay. Try to take it behind the scenes a little bit, you know.
But yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay.
And I haven't had in my whole time here. I think we've had 3 GMs. I've been here 16 years.
Huh.
So there's not a
lot of producers though.
Not a lot of producers.
A lot of producers.
A lot of producers.
A lot of producers. You know.
So
Amby, how you feeling? Good.
I'm
Doing
great.
Good to see you, man.
Amby's under contract for another year.
Kidding. I know.
8 months.
another 8 months. Doesn't mean he'll always be in here.
Oh yeah. And you know me, man. I'm just freelancing. I'm just going month by month. We're good.
Yes, which I think is good.
Flying by the seat of our pants, Brent.
That's the way to go. Listen, we're going to have a big 25, man. I
big
put
25.
this long email out yesterday about 2025.
You did.
Excited
Oh,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I didn't put it out to all you guys. I just put it out to like the bosses.
Oh, well, I saw you sent one email with 25 things to expect.
Oh, yeah, that was a different one. Yeah,
Okay.
That was different. That
read
was
it.
just organizational. I put one with ideas, like what we're going to do. So if you have any feedback and what we need to do a little bit better, give them to me because I'm talking to the bosses. We got a meeting in the middle
Brent's
of
got
January.
the direct pipeline.
Oh yeah, I got the pipeline. But we're trying to enhance this thing each year. This is not a 1-year deal. This is the thing of the future here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7.
Long-term
network.
commitment, Brent.
That's right. So hopefully it doesn't take as long to build as the Jags, but
We're doing it together.
yeah, baby steps.
Is that what your paper's about?
It is. But now what I'm learning is I had to kill a little time so I could tweet about this.
Looks like a ransom note, by the way. So I can't wait to see what this is.
Yeah, what do you think this is? Hold this up for everybody to see.
Thanks, Brent.
Sorry. I told you I had to tweet.
Hey, Abby, where are we at? Okay.
I want to get everybody engaged on
What's
this.
up with the light, though? Okay, here we go.
Okay,
Yeah, that
12
looks
to
fine.
36, 30 and 13.
12 and 27, 1 and 15. 2 playoff
Two
wins in the middle of
playoff
that.
wins.
And then 22 and 28 playoff win, question mark? I mean, this is obviously the coaching tenures of the last season. So, like, different coaching tenures, what they're able to accomplish, and then before they got let go, their record, like their last season record.
No.
Oh, I was getting so
I mean, you're
cocky with
close. It was there's some. Your Hamby. Do you know what? I mean, there's a little bit to that.
I mean, there's math involved, so I'm.
Can you just tell me in between the first numbers, the 12, 36, 21, are those dots or
Dashes.
dashes? Okay.
12 and 36, 21 and 27. It's not like I wouldn't do the score backwards. Okay, those aren't scores.
Okay, so the top is is the last coach's record. Yeah, so that's Doug Marrone was no. Did he have that many games?
Nah,
No. The number at the bottom is the record before they got there, or the record after they were. Wait a minute.
This
here.
is more fun than I even thought.
Hold on.
Can I put it? Okay, I'll keep it up.
Your arm getting tired?
I mean, yeah, because I was like,
You're a UFC
Hey,
fighter.
man.
You can't hold up a piece of paper.
hey, man, it's a lot of muscle to hold up. Don't worry, I dropped my elbow down and we're good now. All right. 12, 30. Okay, so
I mean, listen, the show ends at 1.
All right, I tap.
All right, you guys were kind of in there. You're close.
Okay, what do we got?
So here's what we got. So this is an example of, you don't have to put me on. You can keep the big one if you want. This is an example of 3-year runs under Shad Khan.
Oh.
So let me just give you the point of this. The point of this was we are all emotional in Jacksonville. Everybody's like, this is miserable. This is awful. This wasn't supposed to turn out this way. And I'm not telling you you're wrong. And we've been hammering it. It's done. It's over. It's got to be out. But when we think through the scenarios, there's the same reason why we brought up, hey, could Doug Peterson stay and other people go?
Yep.
This is what I would say, our mom example. If I send this to your mom and I send this to my mom living in Wisconsin and Rhode Island, respectively, and I say, all right, the other 2 times guys had 3 years. The record was 12 and 36.
Austin, you're good.
The record
Thank
was
God.
21 and 27.
My man. Yep.
And that was under Gus Bradley and Doug Marrone. Now, why I put the question marks up, that's where the silhouette would have gone. And I would have said, all right, moms, you tell me which 2 guys stayed in this scenario and the one guy that left. And they would have automatically picked the first guy. Right?
Yeah.
12 and 36, no playoff wins. That guy got fired.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, that guy didn't get fired. That was Gus Bradley.
Mm.
And then Doug Marrone, obviously, you can make the case he's actually got the best resume because they won 2 playoff games.
Sure.
Did he coach that many games? Was he here?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was there 4 years.
Okay.
But this was his first 3 years record.
Okay.
Now, of course, they've added a 17th game. That's why the number's different for Doug, and this doesn't count Sunday's game that's still to be played. But you can also make the case that Doug has the best resume of all these guys because he had the first back-to-back winning seasons in the history of the franchise. I'm sorry, not in history, in 20 years of the franchise. Now, he didn't go as deep in the playoffs, but he did get a playoff win. And he also fixed the mess of Urban, which I didn't add here, but you could add in context, where really after Gus, it was bubbling, and they kept everything together. They just added Marrone, and they added Coughlin. And then they took off.
Well, remember, too, we had friend of the show, Coach Malarkey, on here, too. I mean, like, Gus Bradley replaced him. You know what I'm saying? Like it was bad when Coach Malarkey left. Bradley got brought in, and then nothing got better.
Well, the reason why Gus stayed longer is because they really did rip it down to the studs in 13.
True.
They were one of the worst teams historically in this game's ever seen because they were like, we are ripping it up. In fact, what they did in hindsight is ripped it up too much. They didn't keep the guys like Darryl Smith and everybody else. Yeah. But again, I'm talking about this from a very elementary level. We have 3 examples now of coaches with 3 years under Shad Khan as the owner. In 2 of those times, he's brought the guy back for a 4th season. So the trend to our moms and people outside of Jacksonville not emotionally attached would be like, well, hell yeah, he's bringing this guy back. Wouldn't it be? He's done it twice before. This guy's got maybe the best resume of all of them.
Yeah, but then I would also make another diagram that shows Mike Mularkey with a sad face because he promised that they were going to be good. And then I would draw another image of this year's record with 10 sad faces. And I would say, well, someone told Shad Khan that we're going to be good this season, and we weren't.
That's exactly context that is needed. Okay?
Yes.
So, anyway, that was really the simplicity of my game, just to see, why would he stay, right? Yep. Why would they stay? Why would Shad give him that? Well, there's one other number down there that I fell upon yesterday when I was explaining this to somebody.
Okay.
And that other number in why they shouldn't stay is the number at the bottom. So the trend says that Shad keeps the guy for the 4th year. Look what happens in the 4th year.
Ooh, okay. I see where we're going now.
3-13, 1-15. What is their proof to say that it's going to turn around under Doug Peterson to go back on the other way? Now, I could sit here and argue, I just did really over the last hour, the roster's better. I think the guy coming in here, blah, 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 blah. But if you're going with the trend of Shad and saying, well, hey, Brent, he's got to give him another year. Look, he gave the other guys another year. Well, look what happened when he gave him another year. Nothing.
Yeah.
So, to me, this was actually an exercise to showcase how he could keep Trent and Doug, and to try to make it make sense in my mind and to the outside world and not the people that are emotionally charged about this. And what I actually came up with is the reason why he probably shouldn't. Even more.
This is impressive, man, because it looks like the Riddler from Batman wrote it, and Batman, it would take him too many days to figure it out, and by the time people would be hurt. So this is impressive. I had no idea where you're going with this, but it makes sense. Like, it does make sense.
Yeah, because what we're trying to do here, and this is what I remind people, we have no idea what Shad's going to do, but we try to figure it out. Sure. Like, we're all trying to figure it out. We're all trying to, I'm telling you guys, I know people in the building, enough of them, and they're trying to figure it out. And they're like, yeah, he's definitely going to do the, but, yeah, and all you got to do is bring up, but, and you're like, well, you're right, it could be.
But what you're saying is if Shad Khan sticks with his normal, outlook and how he runs things, and he follows this diagram here, it may not be good. And it could be actually worse than it was this past season.
So really, if Shad was watching our show right now,
I'm sure he is.
Which he probably is not.
Oh, you never know, Brent.
But seriously, if I were to have a listen, I wrote the article in many respects for everybody out here, but also if Shad Khan saw that article, hopefully he did. Because that's my advice. That'd be my advice to Shad.
Well, it's in the chat if he didn't see it. If he's watching right now, go click on the chat. Yeah.
But my next conversation with Shad would be like this. It'd be like, listen, I one of the great attributes he has as an owner, why the job is attractive, is because he's loyal and he's patient. That's an attractive nature. That's attractive to Ben Johnson. That's attractive to a potential Mike Vrabel, a Liam Cohen, a whoever, right? That's why people say this job is attractive. That might not be good with the fans, and I'm not telling you it should be. But for a guy who's coming in here, and this is a coveted job, that's one of the reasons it's listed as a coveted job. But I would say, from this diagram, Shad, you have been loyal. You've given these guys chances. But when you do, it doesn't really turn results. And so, Shad's a way smarter guy than me. I would say on top of that, you go to what you just said in the Mike Mularkey comparison, where it was 1 year, and what we really believe is the 1 year, they overpromised and underdelivered. Well, guess what they did this year? They overpromised and underdelivered in a big-time way. So you add this diagram and that context, and there's no chance these guys are coming back.
Man.
There's no chance these guys are coming back. They're done. I think.
I thought we're coming in here talking about college football today. Turns out Brent Martineau's trying to audition for the new EVP role, man.
When did you do this, Brent?
Brent's trying to audition for that new EVP role. Hey, LinkedIn, eat your heart out, man. Brent's going to do it in person.
Well, I made that thing yesterday, but I've had this. I wanted to actually graphically build it, because we do this stuff, but I thought it would be too hard to explain on TV. You need some context and time to do it. But I really want to do the silhouette game, and put who is this?
Okay.
Right? And it was going to take you guys a little bit to figure it out, but I think you get it. And I honestly was thinking about my mom. My mom's like this closet Jags fan, right? Yeah. She's rooting for the Jags. She's always so positive about the Jags. And I'm like, so if I showed this to her, she would say, yeah, if I took the bottom line away and I took the context of what they promised and all that stuff, because she doesn't know that stuff.
Correct.
And so I said, all right, what's Shad going to do? And she would say, they're coming back. He gave the other two guys his fourth year. They're going to come back. And by the way, that guy's got a Lombardi trophy. And that guy took you to the playoffs just 2 years ago. And continuity and all these things. But then I say, yeah, but look at the result. The next year when he kept them back, does that make sense? And then I throw in the context of what you just said about overpromising and underdelivering.
Yep.
And
hey, Mrs. Martineau.
And I just don't know. And this has been my big curiosity, because I try to think of it realistically of all the scenarios. I don't know what Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke could sit in a conversation in a room with Shad Khan and be like, this is why you should bring us back. Like, what are they saying? What are you hanging your hat on? I gave Doug a chance, and by the way, it was fine. This isn't a Doug critic. I asked the question. He answered it, and I thought he answered it in the right way, because I know the answer. Continuity is a big thing in the NFL. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Continuity. Right? It's what I think Shad is chasing, is the Pittsburgh Steelers continuity.
It's continuity when you're yeah, for sure.
But it's better. You're closer if you keep it together. Usually. You feel like you're closer. You can get there, especially when you have 9 one-score losses. So the only thing I think Doug and Trent can sit there in a room and say with Shad is, listen, we underperformed crazy this year. But we did lose a lot of one-score games. We had some injury stuff here and there that was probably more than the amount of guys that ended up on injured reserve. And we think continuity will help this young football team continue to grow and make a big step next year. We think we can totally flip it around. That would, I'm again trying to think from their vantage point.
I know.
I'm not telling you Shad would go for it, but that's about all they have to hang their head on. If you go back to our conversation of if they beat Houston or when did he make up his mind, if I could say you beat Houston and look, we won 5 out of our last 6 games, to go along those other things, now it's more believable.
Yeah.
Right? Now it's like, okay, now you got Shad thinking. I would be thinking as the owner, I'm like, hey, you know what? So, all right, we've hung in there before. Doug's got a Lombardi trophy, man. I feel like this guy's better than this. I can do it. But the bottom line is that illustration, what we know, there's very little if you're Doug and Trent to hang your hat on here in Jacksonville right now. It's just, what are you buying that believes you can do this in 2025? And unfortunately for those guys, it's just the nature of the business. There's really not a lot of hardcore stuff that you can just be like, yeah, we got this.
No. I mean, if this was Shark Tank, Mark Cuban would have had his chair turned around 2 minutes in the conversation. It's nothing to sell.
So anyway, that was the kind of the point of the whole thing. I also think they were really close to being able to sell it. I mean, I really think they were close to being able to sell this.
When you say close to selling it, like in terms of keeping their jobs,
yeah, even in a bit, like even in a 6 or 7 win season, like here's how close they were. If you think about it, I mean, if they do beat the Texans, if they did beat the Packers or the Vikings, which they were right there to win, or the Eagles, they were right there to win. If you add one of those wins with a Houston win, and now I think you do beat like the Jets or the Raiders, you add 3 more wins to this. And one was against the Eagles and one was against Houston. Now you're like, I think I can sell this. But because they didn't get any of those, they really have nothing here in Jacksonville to go to the owner and be like, this is what we got.
Let me ask you this. Would an Eagles or a Packers win, would that have outweighed the Lions' loss?
Yes.
You think so?
Yeah. I can chalk up the Lions' loss, Austin.
So what?
Well, I do believe that. I believe that was a. First of all, it was a bad football team against a good team.
Sure.
I think it was also a tired football team. I really do. I buy the tired football team stuff on that one.
Didn't get their 8 hours in. Got it.
Well, come on.
No, but like
there's more to that.
Listen.
It's like saying if Oregon and Ohio State played again, would it be the same way?
Would it be the same way? I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't think it would. I think it's just sometimes the nature of games go that way.
Okay.
Now, you had two of them. You had Buffalo and Detroit, but that was the elite teams. And you'd have to be honest with yourself in this meeting with a shot or somebody and be like, listen, we're not elite. We need to get to elite because we showed it against Buffalo and Detroit. We couldn't even hang, right?
Yeah.
So we admit that. We got to admit that. But we also, listen, the Packers are close to elite. The Vikings are close to elite, if not elite. And the Eagles are close to elite, if not elite. And if we beat one of those teams, now you can sell something. Again, you got to sell yourself sometimes. And especially when things go wrong. These guys really, if you look at it, have nothing to sell to Shot, or very little to sell to Shot. And I think that's their biggest problem right now with returning. And also based on a trend that if Shot looks at that trend, and I don't know if he does this, because he's done things a myriad of different ways, from hiring coaches to firing coaches. But if he looks at the trend of himself, he would see those numbers, and he would see that fourth year, and it's like, okay, we are moving on. So, and listen, Mr. Pico, I would say this.
Hold up the die. Yeah, how do you sell to fans here? Feast your eyes on that and figure it out. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to tell you this with all honesty.
You don't.
Well, first of all, you don't. But I've said this. You're not necessarily selling next year in terms of, again, you're talking about the fans. I'm talking about season tickets.
Same thing.
Well, I think it's a little bit different. And I'll tell you why. I think the fans is everybody, and there are more fans than 65,000 that go to the games, or 60,000 or 50, whatever the number is, that go to the games. There's more fans that you're talking to, that people don't go to the games, that are losing faith in the organization. Those fans, you wouldn't be selling anything to. But the actual season ticket kind of fan, you're selling the stadium next year. This offseason, the stadium is being sold. And I know we've said this multiple times, but if everybody hasn't caught it, basically the sale, which is smart, is 2025 is if you get season tickets, you lock in 2028. And I can tell you as a season ticket holder, that's a pretty cool deal because 26 and 27, you don't have to go. You don't have to lock in. And it doesn't impact your standing in line for 2028. So I know as a season ticket member, I'm like, okay, I wasn't thinking of not getting them anyway, but 25, I'm like, hey, that's a pretty cool deal now. That's a pretty good sell. So to me, you're not selling the football team in 25. You're selling the stadium in 25. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but then there's I get what you're saying, but it's like, hey, the stadium, no, you're not going to get it this year or next year, but you're going to get it eventually. I think it's hard to justify, though, too, to people.
Well, it's not maybe the right or the best way to do it. I'm just telling you, they wouldn't not sell a season ticket next year if they brought the guys back. They're going to have something to sell. Yeah. And the other part of this is, I've told you guys this, and I believe there's an interesting situation with the business stuff going on. Again, I'll ask you, Ben Johnson, who I think would be interested in this job. I think would fit for this job in a lot of different ways. But Ben Johnson also has to ask himself, okay, at 26 and 27 time, how does that set us up to be good? We're not going to play a home game in 27. We're going to play more London games. We're going to play limited capacity. There's going to be construction to jump through, all these different things. Am I set up to win here? And he's asked himself that publicly. He's said that in front of a mic. I think it's a fair question to ask yourself if you're a candidate for this job. Are we set up to win here the way we need to be set up to win here? Now, the answer to that is you go 6-7 year contract.
Yeah.
Right? And you say, don't worry, you're going to open the new stadium. And by the way, nature of a coach thinks he can handle anything and do anything. And so I think you're actually selling the next coach and next regime on 28 as well. You're like, hey, it's going to be a little tricky at times. You can do it. We love you. We have faith in you. And you're going to be the guy opening up the stadium. You almost have to hire the next guy and guarantee them they're going to be here in 28 to open up the new stadium.
Yeah, no, that's the only way to do it.
And there's nothing guaranteed in the NFL for 4 years, by the way.
Well, you're going to have to.
There's nothing guaranteed.
You're going to have to for this.
So
what else? You have to guarantee that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you do. If you want your top guy. So
yeah, or else you just want a guy that's desperate to make a name for himself.
Well, but you don't want that guy.
Well, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So anyway, that's my exercise and my draw. Pretty good artwork.
Not bad, man.
You know what's the nice part about this is that the stock nature of this paper is pretty good.
Okay.
Feel it.
Cut the wow, Brent, where does this paper come from?
We go for Jags.
Oh, okay.
That's probably why it was so heavy for you.
Now we're talking exactly. I just got an arm workout thanks to that. Appreciate you. Yeah, because this is just flopping in the wind, Brent. Flopping in the wind.
Problem.
A light breeze would just blow it off the table.
We got to get you down to Miami. You got to get in shape.
I know, right?
We'll take a time out. Brent Austen Show here on a Thursday. Happy New Year, everybody. Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. Here's the lineup the rest of the day. Locker room's coming up. You'll hear from Josh Hines Allen, Brian Thomas Jr. You'll also hear from Jarian Jones. I thought all three were pretty interesting yesterday. Fleet and footy. After that, some soccer here on the network with Stuart Weber talking Jacksonville Armada and everything else going into the 2025 year.
Stuart with the high school player, or who's that guy?
And soccer co-host of the show as well. Soccer aficionado. Those guys know their soccer stuff. It's all on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. Don't forget Jaguars All Access tonight at 7 o'clock until 8 o'clock, a 1-hour show. We'll have the specialists on. Two of those guys going to the Pro Bowl, and Cam Little, one of our favorite guests we've ever had on the show. He is back tonight at String Sports Brewery in Springfield. And we will be back here on the Brent Austen Show here on this Thursday with, hey, New Year's resolution or word of the year. Which one do you go with, and what would it be? It's next. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jags Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242. You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing. Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, save 10% off a new Rinnai tankless water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Here on Spring Sports Media Day on Action Sports Jax.
It's an opportunity, an education beyond the classroom and the sports arena. Life skills, testing skills, social skills. It's called High School 912, a program focused on maximizing the growth of students in academics, sports, and life. And here's your chance to get involved. If you're a local business, or if you just want to make a donation to help support programs like ACT and SAT boot camps, career days, Leadership Academy, Financial Literacy Academy, and so much more.
Another Nice High School Panther, Jack Cole.
High School 912 supports and hosts high school sporting events, and several media days throughout the year. For more information on how you can get involved, visit jackshighschool912.com.
It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access. Welcome to Spring Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence. You can bring your party or event to Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays. Here at Strings, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Hey, welcome to the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network studios. Hey, one thing, we're not going to do it today, but we'll give it away at some point. Jacksonville Iceman tickets I've got right here.
Nice.
Here, throw them. No, don't throw them. But anyway, these are good for, it's not good for a specific game, but they're good for like any game. So there you go.
There you go, Brent.
There you go.
Show them up there.
Right there.
Can we white balance today or what?
It just takes a minute to focus. It's okay. Settle down.
Well, no, Brent. Hey, man. You of all people in terms of the shot, are you going to tell me to settle down when something doesn't pop up correctly?
I know this. I know when it's his fault, and I know when it's not.
What was your resolution this year? Just chill out when it comes to picture quality? Okay. No. Cool.
I mean, listen, I ended the I remember I already hammered. I finished the year hammering Hamby.
Oh, yeah.
What do we got on the chat? Anything good on the chat?
Build a new stadium out of gold on Mars, but if we are 3-14 with a regime like what's in place now, then so what?
At least the stadium would be cool, and at least they beat the traffic to Mars.
Can you imagine those Logan Cooke punts on Mars? Oh, baby.
Yeah,
I think that'd be good. I don't know. Is Mars?
Listen,
gravity?
I'm not trying to. The one thing about this whole show, if you go back and listen to the show on the podcast, it's always out at 1:30, by the way, wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify and Apple. I can't understand why we can't change the image on the Apple podcast. Like we have tried multiple times, and it's like the old ESPN 690 image. We can't change it. But if you listen to Apple, like it's the new show, it's the old logo. I don't understand why we can't change it. The one on Spotify is fine.
Yeah.
But it's weird.
Do we just have to start like a new? I mean, could we just shut it down, build up a new one?
Yeah, good luck.
I'm not doing it. Yeah, I mean, somebody else can do it. Okay.
These things are not that easy.
Z Fortner said it's cool, but how big is demand for 28 going to be? Don't think people are prepared for how much money the season tickets will cost.
Well, I know, but okay, so that's a really good point on the stadium stuff. But as I'm just telling you, as a season ticket holder, where prices went up a lot, I think, in last year or 2 years ago. And I was like, whoa, went up pretty good. And I know they're still toward the bottom of the league and how affordable they are. Part of the deal that for at least the first 5 or 6 years was you were kind of grandfathered into the old rate. And so you were paying a very good price for an NFL ticket, let's be honest. I know you can debate that with the Jags. I'm just saying overall. My curiosity is, okay, I think a new stadium will increase ticket prices. But if you're grandfathered in, you might not see as hefty of a price. So that's one of my motivations of keeping the tickets. Again, I'm not really even I don't waver right now, at least of not buying season tickets. But I'm just saying as a season ticket member, I'm thinking, okay, if I am in line in 28, I might not have to get back in line where the price goes up X more dollars. And I don't know if that's the case. I'm just thinking that might be the case. So that's why I don't want to get out of line right now.
Yeah, man.
You know, like I play golf. I play golf at St. John's Golf and Country Club, right? And I've been like a member there, like it's like a daily member. And I hardly ever use it. I've been there since like 2008, 2009, and I almost pulled it out like in August. And I was like, what am I doing? Like it's not an absurd amount of money, but it's also just, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm not using this.
Yeah.
And then guess what? They're redoing the greens in May at St. John's Golf and Country Club. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to. So like for 6 months, the course is shut down. So you're basically paying and you're not going to play. I'm like, well, I've been doing that for like the last 2 years. So I'm like, why am I going to, I'm going to wait and see if it goes up crazy. If I get grandfathered in, then I'll have a pretty good rate rather than having to get back in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if that's right logic or not, but in my mind, that's logical to be like, if I'm already here, why am I going to get out of line and then go pay the higher rate? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I don't know. That's the way I've kind of put stuff in my mind. And again, I have no idea. I don't know how much St. John's going to up my pay, and then I'll probably just see you later.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
don't eat.
Yeah,
the
29 green greens.
Mr.
It could
Pico's
be.
comment was
Especially if it goes, oh, what did Mr.
unreal.
We're not going to read that one.
Oh, I love. I've been laughing to myself for the past 2 minutes.
Hey, speaking of golf, you can get the Action Sports Jax Dream 18 card. It's back. And if you do go to St. John's Golf and Country Club, you have January and February to play. So I'll give you a quick little story about the Dream 18 card. Access Golf, we appreciate them. Title sponsor of that Dream 18 card. And some of the proceeds go to our Dream 18 charities. Well, I did go play over there the other day, and I had like a pass to play. And the guy in front of me, he was going to pay, and it was like $73 to play at St. John's Golf and Country Club.
What'd you do, Brent?
And I was like, you might want to get a Dream 18 card.
Enough said.
Because it's only $35 if you have a Dream 18 card.
Yeah.
So if you know any golfers, boom, just like that, guy could have saved $40 just at St. John's Golf and Country Club.
You didn't tell him?
I did tell him.
He didn't do it?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if he signed up yet.
I thought you were scamming him or something. There ain't no scams here.
Go to actionsportsjaxdream18.com.
Let's go. Is that a real story? Just make that up.
No, it was a real story. Okay. It was just a real story and a great way to promote our Dream 18 card.
Yeah. You should have got him one, Brent.
Well,
like, hey, here's the card.
It was actually New Year's Eve. So I had last year's card and it expires on New Year's Eve. So me giving him.
Hey, you should have had one of this one last year.
I kind of was like, hey, you should have bought this.
Should have been there.
What I really should have done is I had some extras. I should have brought him that day. In hindsight, I should have brought him that day and handed him out. Would have been a nice gesture.
Get some.
But I wasn't thinking that way.
Yeah, good New Year's juju.
Yeah. So anyway, speaking of that, are you a New Year's resolution guy?
No.
Me either.
No.
Can't say I've ever made one.
Real quick, how many days until you stop saying Happy New Year to people?
Today.
We're going 2 days?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah.
We're done.
Well, because you don't see anybody on the first, right? Most everybody's like a holiday, it's off.
Yeah.
So, maybe people stretch in tomorrow.
Oh, I feel like people stretch it the whole month, bro.
But I'm going to go to UNF game today, and I'll see some people. I'll probably say Happy New Year.
We're going to have people at Publix working, like, that'll go till February, I feel like.
No way.
Oh, yeah? Brent, you got to get up there and socialize people some more.
Yes, I do.
I'm for real, man. Okay. What do you got?
What do you got? New Year's resolution or no, Hamby?
Nah, I make goals every year, but
Do you?
yeah.
Do you meet them?
Last year I did.
Really?
Is the one this year to win a national championship?
No, they're things that I can control a lot more than that.
Okay.
That's a good thing.
You can will it into existence.
How about you? Do you do goals?
Nah. I mean, I have a goal of being ranked this year in the UFC, but
okay. Well, that's not bad.
I prefer the daily.
Oh.
I try to make daily, not necessarily, but like not waiting till the year starts to make changes if changes need to be made.
Wait, so you make daily goals like every day, Hamby?
No, but like that's just the way that I try to think of, or like for weeks or months or whatever is just like it's something.
Yeah,
daily improvement, I guess.
Got you. Yeah, get more than 2 hours of sleep. Yep.
I think everybody starts with good intentions, kind of like, hey, I'm already on a diet. It's January 2nd. Start with a diet. Okay, I'm not going to drink until this whole month. Yeah, probably. We'll see on Saturday.
as they're hungover from New Year's Eve. Like,
I mean, I'm in that boat. I don't know why. I'm kind of like a start on the first day of the month. January's first, like it's just human psychology. It's got to be, and I fall in that trap. I know not everybody does.
Yeah,
like, you don't feel like a human psychology guy. Like you don't fall in the rat trap. I do. Like I'm part of the mice that they test.
This is my this is my big issue with resolutions because everyone acts like you get like a clean slate for like the new year, and yeah, that's true. The numbers change, but like everything you did last year is gonna follow you. It isn't like you just get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
So it's
not
like
the NFL.
No, exactly. So like I don't I guess that's why I never like really been into resolutions, because it's like, well, you can start a resolution anytime you want. Like,
it was just Wednesday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like don't wait for, the clocks to reset, the calendar to reset to start it. Like, if you want to make a change, then make a change.
I know, but I think there's some. So we live in a world, right, that's keeping up with the Joneses and fear of missing out and things like that. And
Posted on social media.
I think when everybody's doing it at the same time, you're like, okay, I'll join that caravan. Right. So I think, but I agree with you. I mean, you know how many times I've started a diet in the last month and a half?
Yeah, Brent.
Like a lot.
No,
and then I go have like a glass of whiskey.
Okay. Brent's upgrading to whiskey now. I like it, man. No, listen.
I've been trying to stay away from the craft beer because that hasn't been doing well for me either.
I'm not going to listen to Jelly Roll. Not going to watch Ted Lasso. Not going to watch Yellowstone. I don't follow the trends.
Yeah,
okay, so forget.
Well, you are not a trendy guy.
Nah, I'm good.
But anyway, I think that's why we fall into them. So I'm not a guy. By the way, to answer my own question, I don't do New Year's resolution stuff.
Sure.
You know the other thing I don't do, and I wonder if you guys do this. Like I start to for a moment. And I think the reason why I start to is really, I was like, I'm going to do a Facebook post of like the 12 best pictures or whatever we did this year. But I never really look back and I'm like, that was a good year or that was a bad year. Like I never do that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever really done that. But like I start to think about it because I was like, holy crap, this was a busy year.
Yeah.
Like this was crazy. Like in my life, this was a really crazy year. We started this thing. The kids graduated from high school. The kids go to college. Like there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But I just never look at it in that context. And I'm okay with it if you do. I just don't. I'm just like, okay, we just keep rolling into the next thing. But the one that I've thought, one thing that I think is pretty cool, and there's all sorts of these whether you read a book or whether you do this or that, or you listen to a podcast about leadership or this or that. Like one of the popular things is word of the year. Like, do you have a word? Which I think is kind of cool. But I also, by January 14th, won't remember it. Like, I seriously don't remember.
So when you say word of the year, like word that you use the most, or
so like a word you can live by. So I was trying to think about it today, right?
Okay.
So like in my own life, I'm like, damn, you spend way too much money, so save would be a good word.
Save,
right?
okay.
But almost like that's a stupid word. Everybody would love to save if you can. But so the word, if I were to pick a word of the year, for me, coming off this last year, and this is probably a word I could have used a long time, is balance.
Great one.
All right? So balance, at work life, family life, that thing can always be tricky.
Yeah.
Because I like what I do.
Yeah. Oh, kids are gone now, man.
Kids are
you're
gone.
Good.
Got to remember Steph's still in the house.
Oh, that's right. Hey, Steph. Sorry about that. Oh, yeah. For some reason, I thought Brent was Mr. Mom for a second, just hanging out by. Oh, yeah. What's up, Steph?
So, like, balance, but balance can also go be like, all right, stop spending so much damn money, right?
Yeah.
So it's like.
It's one word that can be cross many aspects of life.
White balance.
White balance.
Get these cameras fixed, guys.
Stuart would probably say, yeah, you could white balance a little bit better on your shit stuff. So, yes. So I was like, okay, that could be a good word for me, is balance.
Yeah.
And then you got to kind of, whatever that looks like, did you do a good job? It's a feel thing more. Well, a bank account could tell me if I balanced okay or not. But because I'll tell you what, at least 47, you start projecting out. You're like, 15 years from now, whatever. You better save. You better all this stuff. Those things start to enter your mind.
And health too, right? You got to take care of yourself.
And balance in your health, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't do
Because you got some fun exams coming up in a couple years, right?
I do. Coffee too much and all that
You
stuff.
got some fun exams. Get out the camera.
So balance is a good one.
I like that,
So
man.
I'm going with balance in 2025 if you guys don't mind.
Okay. Hamby, what do you got?
I think I'm not a very big,
I
big
think I'm one.
word
I
of
gave
the
you a text
year.
earlier.
I know. I didn't know where we're going.
I guess if I
I
could,
glanced at it.
I guess the last couple of years, I've kind of almost had the same one, and I think it still carries over just as much this year. Mine will be prepare.
I like that.
Because I'm going to get married this year.
Sure.
You better prepare.
And that's the kind of mindset I've had even before I started dating my fiance, was prepare.
Got to prepare, man.
So
Prepare's a good one, going a lot of different ways. I wish you'd prepare better for this show.
I knew it was coming.
I know.
I knew it was coming.
Before you even win, as soon as you said, I was like, I'm going to run into this.
I was going to set him up too with a little Stockton
I was
Malone.
preparing for you to hit that.
Hey,
I was like, it's
Carl
gonna come.
Malone said, "Hey, John, I got it myself. Thank you, man." Oh,
I'm going to run right through that wall.
yeah.
There you go. I like it, though. That's good.
I think, you know what, like, balance is a great one, but I think I always try to bring balance to whatever I do. That's been the focus the past couple of years. I'm going to say gratitude, where I have a bad habit of I'm always on to the next thing. I'm always on to the next challenge, always trying to push myself. And yeah, I do live in the present, but sometimes I feel like I'm not grateful for said present, right? Whether that's with family life, whether that's even just with my professional life on here, or if it's, fighting. Like, I think it's cool to be thankful because I'm doing what I love. And sometimes I think I take for granted there's some people out there working a 9 to 5, not because they love it, out of necessity to take care of their loved ones or themselves. And those people are like the real, ballers. So I think just having more gratitude and thankfulness for what I'm doing and the journey that I'm on.
I love that, man. And I'll tell you what, I don't have to get in too deep as we wrap up this show, but I think I learned this year, and I've said this multiple times to myself, not out loud, that the word gratitude might be the best word in the dictionary.
Nice.
That's what I really, when the kid, it was an emotional time, whether you admit it or not.
Oh, dude, you went through it, man. Yeah,
you kind of go through, think of all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then you think about, like Evan just says, like, you got to stop sometime and be like, hey, man, we're kind of fortunate, or you're fortunate, or wherever you are. Yeah. People say, like, where your feet are, but, like, gratitude is a great word. I think it actually is, in my opinion, people say love or all this other. Great. Correct. There are great words in the dictionary.
Yeah.
Gratitude to me might be, like, the best word in the dictionary. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. We got to
come out of thin air. All right, we're good, man.
Prepare. We should have a hell of a show tomorrow. Hopefully you're back at it.
I'll be 5 minutes late. We'll see you.
Stadium Pulse tomorrow at 9.